make sure everybody's name's on the ground.
Yeah, that's definitely. How about right there over that storage closet? Whatever that is.
Western.
Okay, so we got everybody who showed up late this walk here. So you got Team Took. Actually, nobody showed up late. They came in right on time. So you got Team Took, and you got who else? You got Joseph, who was right on time, and we got everybody. Okay, good. Is that gonna work? Okay, good. Let me do a little poll here. We're here in the marketing boot camp, and every time we go to do more and more and more and more marketing, what's been happening recently is people throw up their hands in despair and say, I know how to get plenty of traffic, I need help closing them. Who feels like they have so much traffic they get overwhelmed regularly or frequently? Stand up, stand up. So much traffic you get overwhelmed frequently or regularly? No? Okay. Who has a lot of traffic but now knows how to handle it? You guys stay standing too. Joseph, you don't have enough traffic? You always want more. Okay, you're greedy.
Right answer, Joe.
Greedy in the right way.
How many intros year to date would you say you've had?
About 110.
110? Okay, well, we could do better than that. So, okay, I'll give you that. Okay, good. Okay, everybody sit down. Who feels like you have a desperate lack of intro volume and need to rapidly pump it up? Okay, not 3 or 4. You don't have to be embarrassed. Everybody was there one time, so okay, 4 or 5. Okay, so we'll fix that. And who feels like your intro traffic is pretty good? You just need to close them better. Okay, well, so that's the overwhelming majority, but we have all ranges. Okay, what I had planned to do is do marketing all weekend, but what we're going to do is we're going to do marketing all day today. How to close and time management and stuff with volume tomorrow. Does that sound fair?
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
So every topic is off the table today, other than how to get more people in the door. Deal? Tomorrow every topic is off the table, other than how to close all the people that are coming in. Fair enough? Because what we will do is we'll end up distracted with how to do renewals, or we'll get distracted with staff development, or staff instructor training, or with 15 other topics, right? But we want to be really focused and fix the problem that anybody who doesn't have enough traffic, we want you to be so overwhelmed this fall that you're complaining that we only need to work on sales training from now on, right? I mean, honestly, that's the goal. Is that a fair thing to say?
Master Oliver,
Yes.
I don't want to be the devil's advocate here, but how many, Master Oliver, if we could set aside 2 hours on Saturday.
That's what we're going to do in Breckenridge.
Yeah, we've got.
We got in Breckenridge. We're only going to do retention, leadership development,
Okay.
renewals,
Then I'm
right?
on board.
Okay.
And remember, if you don't do the full thing of the renewal, how to do the renewal from A to Z, then it usually bogs down anyway. You
Yeah.
need the.
But see,
that's
you're
why
off. But you're off
everything
topic.
being peace.
You're off topic, right? So we're going to do marketing today. We're going to do enrollment sales, intros and enrollments tomorrow. And in Breckenridge, we're doing student retention, student development, leadership development. Everybody got that? Okay. Perfect. So,
Before we start, and I don't want to get off topic, so I'm gonna
is this about marketing?
Again,
This is
on top of
Is
it.
this
This
about
is
marketing?
exactly marketing, because this is what's going to help them market their school. I want to give a big hand to Tim Harrison, stand up, and Lynn Bizard. They were inducted into the Who's Who in martial arts last weekend in Washington, D.C.
Very good, very good. And we are, by the way, broadcasting live to our members only group. So we're not going to broadcast live the whole thing, because those numbnuts couldn't get here. It's their problem. But they, we are going to record everything for them. But I did broadcast it live, so if you go and get water or something, try not to stand directly in front of the little Evo camera. Master Smith, since you're a Facebook addict, you might check occasionally and see if it's running live.
Okay.
How's that for a deal? Okay, so marketing topics. Who has had a month with more or less 100 intros or more? if you've had a month this year with more or less 100 intros, so say, Greg, stand up.
Appointments
What?
or appointments?
Intros. Actually, came to the meeting.
Yeah.
Okay, Westminster, Thornton, who else? Tim, stand up. Who else? Is that it? Okay. We had 2 or 3 more last night. Dean, you've been right around 100.
Yeah, it was last year.
Okay, well, but it's close enough for now. Anybody else? No? Okay. Well, let's start with this. As Greg, top 3 things that drove traffic for that month.
Events, website, and events.
Okay, what type of events?
Festivals, fairs, that kind of stuff.
Okay.
Spin wheel events.
Events. Okay. And then you've been doing pretty good with online. I'm going to talk about what it means to say website, but you've been doing a pretty good job of really generating referral traffic using your website with your current students. Is that a fair way to say it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And it's a topic well worth exploring. Good. Tim?
Events, fests. Early in the year, there is at the local mall, there's a Chamber of Commerce event, expo, and
Okay.
we pull 60 to 90 appointments out of that.
Okay.
Car show events. Yeah, the fest, car show, weekend, yeah, the mall started a deal where you can just go in and have a little kiosk per
Oh,
weekend.
good. Good.
So
Yeah.
we're doing that. Yeah, I mean, a little bit website, we're working on improving everything with that. We've got a company working on that. And what else? You know, we got a sign out front, we got,
Okay. Well, that's a good start. Dean?
My big thing has been events in the school, so,
Okay.
go to the school for a day, coming with scout troops and, libraries, things like that, and then just like, bandit signs or
Yeah.
grassroots type stuff, that's actually been pretty successful. So, when I was doing those things simultaneously, that's when I was drawing, those big numbers, so.
And guys, don't forget about that little simple bandit sign, because it by itself is not as strong, but when you do a lot of other live events and things, and you're very much, name is out in front of the community, they drop by and see that sign, and go, oh, that's that one that we saw at the fair, and kind of remind them to give you a call.
Yeah. Okay. Westminster.
The movie theater is one of the big ones. Events. We've learned that we need to have some sort of booth somewhere every other week. That's
Okay.
like the biggest thing we've learned. And then Facebook,
Yep.
bringing in a lot of leads for us.
And you've just started doing that in a focused way. So what's the last 3 or 4 weeks look like?
We've gotten 15 leads for the last 2 weeks.
Sounds about right, yeah.
Okay. And how many enrollments have you gotten in 2 weeks on
We're
Facebook?
about 70%.
Is it? Yeah, something like that.
How many people have you enrolled?
7?
7.
Or 8.
8. Okay, so 7 or 8 in 2 weeks, strictly from paid Facebook advertising. How much were you putting on the? How much were you spending on Facebook?
$800 a month
Well, that was
Yeah,
the
for the
DI buy.
500.
What?
for the
500.
500. So you've done 500 media buys and you North Edge and paying them 800.
Right.
Okay, so the number was 1,300, 7 enrollments, therefore around $200 per enrollment. Right? Okay, so good. And Jordan?
maintenance fairs,
Okay.
school programs, and movie
Yeah, school programs. Nobody mentioned that. And then events and that type of thing. Okay,
What was the
good.
last one you said, Steve?
Fairs, events.
Did you say buddy? Did you have buddy events in there?
We don't do open
Okay,
events.
good.
Yeah, and we should fix that, right? So you guys are at a volume where you should be doing 10, 15 enrollments a month just from referrals,
Correct.
right? Okay, so let's take this list, and what I'd like to do is start first with conceptually how to be thinking about your marketing every month, right? I'll tell you there's a commonality that every conversation that Mr. Dunn, Senior Master Moody, Grandmaster Smith, and myself have the people at the low end of the spectrum, results-wise, are just not doing enough stuff, okay? Now, just anchor that in for a second, because I'm gonna tie it all in, but when I talk to somebody, they'll have like the one big thing this month, right? Guys, what happens when you have the one big thing?
Gets rained out.
Yeah, you have a tornado warning, you have thunderstorms, it gets canceled. The assistant director is a pacifist who decides that martial arts is a bad fit for their charitable activity. I had the school principal whose kid was in some Taekwondo school and got mad that I was the one that was smart enough to have thought about this. Couldn't get their instructor to do it, but was mad that I was doing it, right? So, you know, the one big event always goes bad, right?
And that could happen
So-
the day of your event where you planned it, so it's not like you know ahead of time. This
Yeah,
is the
yeah,
problem.
so principle number one, and this is principle in everything you do in your school. One is a horrible number for anything. One perfect employee always gets hit by the truck, okay? Now, I don't mean they literally die, but they get the new girlfriend that convinces them that they're making you rich, they should be making themselves rich. They get the new husband that doesn't like them working all the time or whispers the same thing in their ear. The kid is sick. Mom has Alzheimer's and she lives a 3-hour plane flight away, so they have to go deal with mom. I mean, I can go through the list of how many different ways the perfect employee, you know, got out of the system. And an awful lot of them, by the way, is relationship. New girlfriend, boyfriend, new husband, wife leaves them. So it's divorce or new relationship because you add something into the mix that wasn't there before, right? So number one, this is the marketing principle. Murphy's Law is real, right? So write that down, never forget it. Murphy's Law is real. The one big thing that you have planned for the month always goes haywire, okay? So never plan on the one thing or two things or three things making your month. Never, ever, ever, okay?
Hey, Master Oliver, I'd add on to that it's the danger for some of you guys are doing really, really good with one thing like Facebook or we saw some people a few years ago do really, really good with Groupon. And then believe me, those things aren't gonna always be the same. If you rely on one thing, so it may be working like gangbusters right now, and it feels like we know what we're doing because everything's working fine, the principle still applies.
Yeah. No, and I was getting there. That's exactly right. Master Sutherland back here in the corner trying to hide is, he and I were having this conversation at lunch, what was it, Wednesday? But you ran how many schools for how many years?
7.
7?
7, but
For how many years?
25 years.
25 years, okay. Over 25 years, in different periods of time, were there massive changes in what was working from one period to the other to another?
I think that's, definitely, yes, the first big hit was 86 with Karate Kid 1. We didn't do anything, they just poured it in the door. So
Yeah.
the movie alone drove traffic.
Yeah.
Then we joined EFC and we used EFC's basic ads. That drove traffic probably up to 90.
Yeah. They had 4 or 5 that were really good because they're the ones that I did. All the rest were pretty crappy, but
So that drove traffic for another 3 or 4 years.
yeah.
And then it got fuzzy from 90.
Right.
94, definitely by 96. By the time I was out here in 97, we moved on way beyond into school programs.
Yeah, any of that stuff. But here's the point. Take what Master Moody just said. Is Jay Abraham, in fact, I just spent a couple of days with, a day with Jay, 3 days with Dave Kennedy. But he calls most businesses, they're on a diving board, right? They have one pillar of marketing. They have one tactic that's working. And guess what always happens? Murphy's Law is real. Sooner or later, that doesn't work, right? Our example, he was using that. Anybody remember Columbine? What was Columbine? Columbine was a high school shooting. Where is Columbine? Littleton, Colorado. I had 3 schools that were all within 2 miles of Columbine, right? When Columbine happened, anybody know what the ripple effect might have been in the local public school systems? For a solid year, nobody external to the school was allowed to come in and do anything, right? So we were doing 2,000 enrollments a year, perhaps, rough number. Don, does that sound about right across the schools?
Oh, it was dramatic.
2,000 enrollments a year, let's say, okay? Enrollments directly in elementary schools. The day that Columbine happened, it was 18 months before they let anybody do anything. What happened to that pillar? It disintegrated. What did we have to do with it? Nothing. What control do we have over it? Zero. What could we have done to mitigate that? We could not have done anything to mitigate the fact that the school channel was going to dry up. The only thing we could do to mitigate it was not ever get dependent upon the one thing to begin with. Does that make sense? Okay. So the next principle is no matter how well a thing is working, always have 20 things going on. Does that make sense to everybody? And I can't tell you the number of conversations I have where somebody says to me, and especially when we're talking about with people who are members yet, but it'll be, why did they start the conversation? I'm not getting enough intro flow. I'm not getting enough new students. I guess if I just had more new students. And by the way, they all say if I just had more students, everything would be fine. Here's a conversation I had recently. 350 active students doing $38,000 a month, enrolling 20 new students a month. And his big problem is if I just had more new students, everything would be fine. Okay? Extrapolate, he's doing 110 average revenue per student, and extrapolate this, he's doing what is that quickly? 5.2% a month dropout rate, right? What should this be? Greg, what should this be? 2. Yeah, 2 or under, right? So 2% or under at 20 enrollments a month, he would be literally at 700 students, right? But what should this number be? 200, 220, 250, 300, right? Worst case, maybe 200. So this school who thinks all he needs is more new students, what he needs to do is he needs to fix his more massive dropout problem. And relative to the industry, that's pretty good. Relative to where we should be, that's not good at all. And his average revenue per student is pathetic. Now, what will that person say? Oh, you don't understand my area. There's 32 schools within a 12-mile radius of me. They're all charging $75 a month. I'm already the most expensive school in town. There's no way I could charge more. Well, how many of them check the other schools? Well, you don't understand. All of my customers, I mean, you know, they're just barely 2 kids, mortgage, 2 cars. They're just barely making it. They can't do it. You know who the funniest time I heard that excuse was? Ernie Reyes Sr. I was saying, anybody know where Ernie Reyes Sr. is? Where are they at? California. Well, that's not California. They're in Silicon Valley. They're in the area between Stanford University and San Jose. They're in Silicon Valley. They said we can't charge more than $75 a month because the cost of living is so high here. Nobody can afford it. Why is the cost of living high in Silicon Valley? Because they're making a fortune. I mean, that's you know, old residents, you know, established residents in San Francisco. The big deal in San Francisco is everybody who's making less than like $300,000 a year are all getting driven out of their homes because they can rent them so for so much more than their mortgage, they're renting them, and the landlords who own them are waiting for the current lease to go so they can kick that one out and put the new Google employee in. I mean, that's why it's so high. But again, well, the number one conversation we have with people who are doing poorly is what? I need more new students. The same person who says, I need more new students, you say, well, what are you doing? Well, we have a Facebook business page. You know, that's kind of like putting a billboard in the middle of Wyoming on a back dirt road that nobody ever sees, right?
And you live in Maine.
Yeah. Your school's in Maine, and you put a billboard on some back dirt road in Wyoming. If you had the biggest, glossiest, LED lit up, live video billboard on a dirt road in Wyoming that one rancher goes by occasionally to feed the cows, how many new students are you going to get? None, right? Or they'll say, well, I have a website. Same deal, right? How many billions of websites? I saw a stat recently, I don't even know what it is. It's something like I don't know, 1 million new websites a day. Okay, so what? You have a website and you have a business page for Facebook which is the billboard in Wyoming. What else are you doing? Well, we get a lot of word of mouth. You know what that means? That means they don't do shit.
Right.
And occasionally a happy student brings somebody down. And the new students they get says, well, I know Joe, who takes class from him, right? Now, it's okay to have, so marketing principle number one is what? Everybody repeat after me. Murphy's Law is real. It's always gonna go to shit, right? So don't forget that. Number two is the Parthenon. You've got to have 20 things going on at all times, right? And again, why? Jeff, who's not here with us, did 45 enrollments in July. Remember, July's a slow month, guys. Might as well go on vacation because you can't do any enrollments in July. July's a slow month. Did 45 enrollments in July. 35 to 40 of them, I don't know the exact number, were for Facebook. What's Jeff's biggest risk?
Facebook.
Well, no, I mean, we're right. Well, you're right, but his first risk is he gets so enamored of Facebook that he does what? He rebuilds the diving board, right? Because guess what? Facebook's a private enterprise. Mark Zuckerberg, in some wild liberal fit, could say, we hate all fighting. We've already banned guns, but you know, when people punch and kick and chop each other, that's a bad thing too. We should ban all martial arts weapons. We should, oh, by the way, those people teaching each other to beat each other up, we should ban them. Is that within the realm of possibility? Yeah. I mean, keep in mind, Google and Facebook, they don't care about you, right? They don't care about me. What do they care about? Money, right? Where's the big money? Ford Motor Company, Tesla, big marketers, right? They're not in business to protect you. Everything that Google does, every incremental step, although they're predominantly an advertising company, makes it harder for little direct response marketers to advertise with them. Makes it easier for big behemoths who don't track their marketing advertising. Do you know that over the years, every step they make is doing that, right? So, if you're, I've had this conversation with Eric and High a lot of times, for the elite MMA guys. For years, tons of traffic from Google, right? You know what that's like? I always tell them. That's like when we had, all you had to do was have an ad in the Yellow Pages and you were driven tons of traffic from Karate Kid. It's not gonna last. When's it gonna end? I don't know, right? But when Google could change its algorithm, more likely is just the, you know, just the natural market that's being driven by UFC and comparables right now for MMA, maybe that dries up, right? You have the new Mayweather fight, he gets humiliated so badly that all of a sudden the boxing gyms flourishes and MMA is humiliated. I don't know, right? I mean, but I mean, he's going to get humiliated. How badly, right?
Right,
But what?
You said Mayweather, but it's okay.
No, you have the big Mayweather fight, the MMA guy.
Right.
What's his name?
McGregor.
McGregor. I do have to get one of those suits though. You know, those fucking ones. Yeah. That is very classy.
Oh yeah,
You know.
he's a classic man.
It's one of those many ways that, although that stuff is driving traffic, it's not very helpful for the general image of martial arts, right? He doesn't care, he's gonna make $100 million, right? One of our kids, you know how the kids are always that. I was teaching a class one time and they asked me, would you take a fight with Mike Tyson? I'm going, yeah, if I got $10 million, I just have the chat mic right here. Third power, anytime you want, please don't fuck up my ribs, okay? You know, no problem. But you get the idea, is you have the one thing, it inevitably is going to be affected by Murphy's Law, or it's going to dry up. Does that make sense? So everybody write that down. 20 things a month. It doesn't matter what, you've got to be doing 20 things a month. Now, we do know that some are going to be real high leverage. So, last night, for those of you who were up at Thornton, they had a ton of intro traffic last night, right? Were they ecstatic or were they irritated? They were irritated. Why were they irritated? Because their show rate's been crappy. Right, Steve?
Yes.
But they had 22 intros this week so far, is that right? Okay, so 22 intros this week, and last, what is it, Saturday, Sunday, or weekend?
It was actually Thursday through Sunday.
Oh, okay, so all along. So Thursday through Sunday, they made 150 appointments, okay? Now, they can go, yippee, that thing works, and there's a whole bunch of those things that we can find out, but guess what? It's been crappy weather all week. That thing could have been, lightning storms, they canceled it, and there's 150 intros that evaporate, right? In fact, where it's at, it could have been a tornado warning, right? So, okay, well, there you go. There you go, so, yeah, and you still got 150 appointments, right? So principle number 3 in building the Parthenon is make sure you have different types of things, right? In other words, don't say to yourself, I'm working really hard on my website and I have SEO and pay-per-click going, so there's 3 things. No, that's one thing. That's, you're working hard on getting the website found, right? And we're going to talk about this later, but the website is only an info call, right? Is just think of the website as only being 2 things. It's the equivalent of somebody calls you, number 1, and number 2, it's bait for the search engines. And the 2 components fight each other a lot of times. Yes, sir.
I heard you talking about foot traffic. Do you have any advice to maximize your retail space at the front?
Oh, absolutely.
Basically, what we're butting up against is that we have a pretty restrictive HOA.
Yeah.
So, otherwise I would have like a giant gorilla or something on the top to call your attention, but they really don't want us to have anything that, blinking or flashing or anything like that. So it's pretty, it's pretty limiting as far as.
You have a restrictive HOA or you have a restrictive property management?
No, it's the HOA. And the property manager basically has to,
Kowtow, click his heels.
Yes, sir.
Okay, yeah. Yes, remind me, we'll come back to that.
Right.
Part of it is do it all in ninja style, right? So not give a crap what they think, but just figure out how to do it without.
Easier to ask for forgiveness than to ask for permission.
Well, you've heard my balloon story about the HOA, right?
Is it
Oh,
a
yeah.
fine or handcuffs?
What?
Is it a fine or is it handcuffs?
Exactly, yeah, fines are fine, handcuffs aren't fine. At the Westminster location, we have the same thing. We have a landlord that will let you do anything, and a homeowners association that gets antsy about just about anything. So there's this constant push-pull of it, push it, the homeowners association rebels, then the code people come, they yell at the landlord, he maybe hangs up on them, but then the code people show up, right? Have you experienced the code guys? Time or no? Yeah, well, you will. But,
Keep pushing.
yeah, you haven't done enough. Yeah. Usually there are things, quite a few things, that neither violate the lease nor violate the sign code that are pretty useful. And you always maximize every one of those things, right? So you have the window cleans in the window, you have the TVs in the windows, running 24/7, but the window cleans that don't cover the TVs, of course, but everything else, not much they can say about that. The Ring doorbell with the signage on the door about if we're not here, you have the real estate sign, the little plastic flyer holders, brochure holders with a little cover. You have those on the front door so that somebody can come and grab a cover. You make sure your signage, which by the way, the Thornton sign says, celebrating 20 years since 1983. So the celebrating 20 years has been up there for, 17 years now, or 14 years, or something like that. So you have, signage on the door with emphasis on when you're not there, ring this for information, take this brochure, text us this information, text lead to 345, for information, call this number, instructor available 24 hours, 7 days a week to answer your questions. So you maximize all of that kind of stuff, right? So nothing that I've said so far usually interferes with lease or with the homeowners jumping up and down too much, right? They'll jump up and down, right? The TV will probably be the one thing that irritates them, right? But if it's inside your space that they can see, who's been to New York City recently? I think it's Armani, on right across from Trump Tower. You know, you have Central Park, you have Trump Tower, and I think it's a block over. Behind Trump Tower, you have the Tornio, the watch store, and then a block over, I think, is the Armani store. And I hope I have this correct. In the second floor of the Armani store, they have the entire floor open, and God knows how much that cost them. And the entire wall, they have a video projection system, right? So all night, every night, you can see like runway projections on this full wall-size projector inside the space, right? Yeah, I mean, and that's Fifth Avenue, Manhattan. I mean, it's so expensive. The iconic toy store, what's it, FAO Schwartz. FAO Schwartz closed because the rent was going to quadruple and was already, I think their rent was $200,000 a month and was gonna go to $1 million a month, right? So, does that give you a little bit of idea, right? But then what you want to do is you want to start with the retail location, draw concentric circles, right? So what do you know you can do? You can do rack cards and all the merchants, right? You can have all the pizza places delivering flyers on the boxes. You can go to McDonald's, you can go to Burger King, you can go to all of those and have them doing guest passes and tray liners, right? I think, Don, that was your idea years ago. We passed out, I think, 250,000 tray liners one time, McDonald's and Burger King. So literally what we would do is we'd go print the tray liner the size of the tray. We would put the McDonald's logo on, but we'd make it our offer, and the offer would be a charitable fundraiser, in McDonald's case for the Ronald McDonald House. In Burger King, at the time they had a literacy program in the facility. So it would be a Chick-fil-A, it's their foster care program. They have you know, some kind of orphan kids. I forget what he calls it. Do you remember what Chick-fil-A calls it? But it was always a fundraiser for their pet charity, right? So we would do the flyers for McDonald's. McDonald's logo supports the Ronald McDonald House, and then do the 5-week thing. So you start going, you know, drawing concentric circles, and you say, well, there's a McDonald's there, what can we do with them? There's a Burger King there, there's a Domino's, there's a Pizza Hut, what can we do with them?
Chick-fil-A is very lenient with local merchants for charity, any kind of event, like you wanna do a business to business, they will.
Yeah, they have family nights. They'll let you set up a booth in their family night. They'll let you do stuff like that.
Did you just speak with their managers or like the owners? Or?
With McDonald's, you'd prefer to have the corporate locations, you'd prefer to have the franchise location, not the corporate location. Because corporate, in most cases, will shut you down. So then you're getting a manager who says, yes, you can, and then when the supervisor comes in, it gets shut down. The franchisees have more leeway, right? But notice the tie, charitable fundraiser for Ronald McDonald House, charitable fundraiser for Burger King's Pet Charity, which used to be a literacy program, charitable fundraiser for Chick-fil-A's Pet Charity. So you start drawing those concentric circles, right? So you've got your retail spot, and so far the stuff that we've actually done on the building is not going to, you know, get anybody in hackles. Nobody's going to complain about rack cards everywhere. They can't complain about Domino's and Burger King. They can't complain about the thing goes in the bag, right? So you keep drawing those concentric circles. Then you start getting the stuff they can complain about and the horse they rode in around, right? So if your city will allow you to get a banner permit, you figure out, you know, how long can I do a banner, how much do I have to pay for the permit. In most of our jurisdictions, for 6 weeks at a time, we can go get a banner permit. In some places, we can put up a big banner and just leave it there until somebody, you know, threatens to put us in handcuffs and you have to take it, right?
Yeah, so we have had, it's because of banners and, you know, the ugliest banners, but they do draw attention.
Yeah.
It's like, I guess, a new lure to fish or something. But my question was, you know, have you had success with, I know you're doing concentric circles, with mail-outs in said concentric circles?
Oh, absolutely.
Right.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, you're now getting to a further off that topic, right? But absolutely, okay? We'll get into direct mail a little bit today. But the number one thing that makes direct mail work is the list. And certainly the geography is useful, but you'd like to have it narrowed down as much as possible beyond that, right? Our grand opening marketing plan, when Steve and Amanda opened the school, and they followed the plan verbatim. But the plan was 50,000 newspaper inserts with Red Plum. And what Red Plum is a company, if you don't know, they have agreements with most of the major daily papers. Colorado is with the Boulder Camera and with the Denver Post. What's your major daily paper in Houston?
Chronicle.
The Chronicle, okay. So they, in all likelihood, they're a big national company. In all likelihood, they have an agreement with the Chronicle. And what will happen on Wednesday when all the food coupons go out, they're the company that facilitates, in part, doing that, right? But the reason I use Red Plum, not just go directly to the newspaper, is they also, that everybody who's not a newspaper subscriber, which is progressively a bigger and bigger list, they put a marriage mail piece in the mail on Tuesday that replicates the Wednesday food coupons, right? So if you watch your mailbox, if you're not a paper subscriber, you'll get this package, and it's Domino's Pizza, and it's Target, and it's Walmart, and it's the major grocery store chains and all that. So for about a nickel or 6 cents a piece, you can put a flyer in there. I would always do 8.5 by 11, two-sided, right, color. So that's an easy way to get a lot of volume inexpensively, right? Now, that's saturation. In other words, first thing I said on direct mail is the number one thing is the list. All that is geography. Now, they are a little bit more sophisticated than that, so you can tell them household incomes and stuff like that, and they'll sort of target it, but mostly it's saturation, right? The other thing that we would do though in a grand opening is we would do Red Plum on week 1, then we do a targeted direct mail with color postcards on week 2, then we do Red Plum, then we do postcards, then we do Red Plum, then we do postcards, then we do 11, right? Now, the postcards and the letter were to a targeted list of, in this case for kids, kids between 3 and 12 in the household, homeowners only, income level. It would vary by location, but let's say as a rule of thumb, 75,000 and up, right? Really what we were doing is saying we want 5,000. You know, how low do we have to go in the income to get 5,000 with this geography? Does that make sense? So we're doing homeowners, kids in the household, preferably 2-parent households, and income threshold, hopefully 75 and up. Sometimes it had to be lower, sometimes it could be higher.
And
Does that make sense?
where's the best place for them to go to get that demographic?
Well, the good mail houses can do that. We use Info USA a lot to pull lists, and they have an app called Sales Genie, so you can just go subscribe to Sales Genie, and then you can go pull it yourself anytime you want, right? And by the way, it's a useful tool, so that's a really good question, Mr. Smith, is Sales Genie it's a really good tool that Info USA does. And by the way, for our Canadians, we're dropped. They have Info Canada too. Okay. When you go into Info USA, here's the type of list you can pull. Give me a list of every daycare in this geography from the lines that I draw on the map. Give me the list of every elementary school in the area from the geography I draw on the map. Give me the list of every household like I just described, right? So you can go and just pull that list yourself, and then the list sometimes will have email addresses, more likely for businesses than for consumers. Sometimes they'll have faxes, again, more likely for businesses than consumers. But in almost all cases, they have a name, they have a phone number, and they have a clean mailing address. Does that help? Okay, so and it's a nice tool because think about an application. I go in and I do, let's say I have this elementary school. Pick a name, we'll call it Leewood Elementary School. So now I want to go in, I want to do that elementary school. What can I do to really maximize that neighborhood, right? Well, first, and by the way, I mean, this is always the way I thought about this stuff in a very mercenary way. Is that a good way to say it? Okay, but I got Leewood Elementary School. Let's say there's 500 kids. What can I do in Leewood Elementary School? Somebody give me a thought.
Gym to do every day.
I can do gym teaching for the day. What else can I do?
Those anti-bullying program things that you do?
Okay, well, and then let's categorize it this way. I can do gym teaching for the day, which could be anti-bullying, it could be discipline, it could be any number of excuses, right? Street safe, you know, it could be any one of those. excuse me, I could do gym teach for the day. What else could I do?
I do a parents' night
What's
out.
that? Career day, good.
I do a parents' night out to raise money for the PTA.
Parents night out, good. What else?
PTO meeting.
I could go to the PTO meeting.
Recreation department.
So somebody else said something back there.
After school program.
After school program. And fundraiser, what do you mean by fundraiser?
Like I said, right now for fundraising for a specific department, like the gym. Like, fundraising for the gym to get them more equipment, things like that.
Sure, sure. And now there's 4 or 5 ways to go about that, right? So one way is I do an after-school enrichment program, the kids pay to do that, the money goes to the gym teacher. Another way to do that is I print out flyers and it's 5 weeks for $49 or it's a month for $29. The $29 100% goes to the PE teacher and they pass it out, right? And I can go to their school carnival and I can sell the $29 passes for that. I can give the school, this is especially good for high school, I can give them packets of coupon books that they can go sell for $29, they keep $29, they give me the lead, right? I've gotten that to happen a lot. I was telling the story last night about Chuck Norris. The way we raised all the money for Chuck Norris is we printed these pass books, and it was for a month of lessons, a free uniform, for I think $19. And what we did is we got tons of people out selling it to raise money for Kick Drugs Out of America, now called Kickstart. So they would take the books out as a fundraiser, just like selling popcorn door to door. Hi, I'm selling martial arts lessons. We're raising money for disadvantaged kids with Chuck Norris. Wanted to know if you'd like to make a $19 donation, you'll get a free month of lessons and a free uniform, right? So then they fill out the lead, they give us the lead, they would keep, well, in this case, Kick Drugs get the money. It could be the high school Key Club and they keep the money. It could be the elementary school, they keep the money. It could be the band and they want uniforms, they keep the money, right? So that's another way to do it. Just give anybody some ideas. But, so I've got Leewood Elementary School. What else could I do?
This time of year, they have those health fairs starting up.
I could go into their health fair. Somebody may have said it. I can go to back to school nights. We went to some back to school nights and they were just killer because what they, there was one school we
You
went
got 20
into.
appointments last night, didn't you?
Yes.
Yeah, 20 appointments. Tell us about it.
All I know is that they went in and they were there for about 45 minutes. We took our spin wheel and actually he got more appointments later that day because we passed out stickers as well with our phone number on it. So that way the kids that didn't have their parents, they could still be, activated as a lead. But then we got 20 appointments posted that day in one hour.
There you go.
Yeah, that's really one of the first times you've done that, but you trained your staff to do it. So those of you, if you're not doing the spin wheel promotion kind of thing, Greg mentioned it before, and everybody mentioned it, if you're not doing that, you're really missing out. Because it's even easy to train staff to do it. If you think, oh, I've got to do it because, I'm the magic of it, that it just generally isn't true. Some things,
Yeah,
some things are harder than
where's
others.
Steve Christensen? No, we lost him.
Yeah.
Steve probably told me last night that he didn't do any of the appointments at the fair. And by the way, Amanda, I'm not sure if she would show up at the fair, right? 100% of them were done by their daughter who's in high school.
Now, one thing I will say with any of that stuff, with any of these things that we do, where there's an actual person involved when you're talking to people, it's very easy to do, but you've got to train your staff. That's what I warned Nick about. And Greg does a really good job training the staff. You got to train the staff a lot to make sure they know what to do, and not accept, oh, I went there, but yeah, I talked to people, but nobody wanted to come and talk to me.
Yeah, you got to have a scripted.
And you have to
We have
get,
that done for you.
you have to get an appointment. It's not about getting just getting their contact information. We want that, but the most important is to get an appointment. And how many have done spin wheel, any kind of event with a spin wheel? Good.
Okay.
Well, so do we.
Okay. And we're now off topic because I let him get me off topic, but that's okay. It's still marketing. So, but again, I'm mercenary.
There's Steve.
I have Leewood Elementary School.
Character.
Steve, how many of those 150 appointments did you personally go out and work and do yourself?
0.
Okay, that was for the radio. Okay. Did you show up?
No. Well, actually, I went to setup and I went to breakdown.
Okay.
But I was moving the whole.
So you did show up.
Well, yeah.
Oh, you're moving into your beautiful new home.
Yes.
It is a beautiful new home. About damn time, by the way. You know, he's gotta spend this money you're making sooner or later.
I had to pay off the other house.
Oh, okay, yeah. Okay, so, well, good. Anyway, so I've got Leewood Elementary, got this list. What else could I do?
Character talks.
Character talks, okay. I've done a lot of where they would have a full assembly of the school, and then maybe their theme for the month was peak performance, so I'd go and talk about peak performance, or I'd go talk about character. Of course, everybody's damn theme anymore is bullying, so you can go do anti-bullying seminars on one thing or another. By the way, is bullying worse today than it was 20 years ago? No. Not as bad today as it was 20 years ago.
Yeah.
How about 50 years ago? You know why I started martial arts? I was being bullied by the asshole who lived next door, who ended up in reform school. It's not. This is not a new phenomenon. It's just.
It's a lot
you
more,
know.
it's a lot more public though, and
That's
actually,
it.
the stats don't support that, the bullying is just about as bad.
It's about
Yeah, it's just about as bad as it's been.
but it's not worse.
It's not worse, it's not worse, but the publicity about it, but don't make a mistake that's actually a pretty good thing to talk about if they want that. What I think a lot of people make the mistake.
Only if it's a marketing topic.
Exactly. And where people make a mistake in any of these is, you go in, and you're probably gonna cover this, but you go in, and I was teaching a bunch of bullying courses for ATA, and we had hundreds of instructors do it, it was really great, we had a really good course. But then everybody would go out and try to go to one school and talk about, hey, we need to do a bullying course for you. And a lot of times they'd say no. It wasn't because that wasn't a good idea, but you almost need to have this menu. This is a menu of things that then you can go to work with the school on.
Okay.
That's a key point.
But we got this elementary school. What else can we do?
Trunk or treat.
What?
For years, our district just let us put out flyers.
Okay, so I can distribute flyers, and I can distribute flyers in a variety of ways.
Right.
They just let me do any promotional thing I want. Great. That's unusual, by the way, right? Or I can create the charitable fundraiser that's raising money for them. Or I can create the charitable fundraiser, in our case we use Children's Hospital, that's a highly regarded kids charity in the area, right? So I could do the charitable fundraiser. And that, we passed out millions of flyers. I'm not exaggerating. We printed them in lots of what, Don, 100, 200,000. We would have, 13 or 15 people spend 2 days going and passing them out. We would have some districts where we had to just, I would have the printer print them 30 flyers, blue sheet, 30 flyer, blue sheet. And so then we could just bundle them and put them out through the school mail in some of the districts. Others we had to go to the elementary school.
Can you give an example of how you tie in, a charitable organization? Is that like, okay, for every registration you give 50% to Children's Hospital?
No, we $29, $49, pick a number that's low, think of a Groupon offer, right? So we always did $49, $29 would have pulled better right now. So $29 a month of lessons and a uniform. You guys don't want to give them a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu uniform, so if you want to do a month of lessons and a t-shirt or something like that, or Travis, you're still doing the cheap karate uniform until somebody was giving them like the cheap uniform, and then when they enrolled, giving them the expensive uniform. I don't know who that was, but because
Makes
we
sense.
what?
Makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, if you can,
Don't have,
Realistically.
those jiu-jitsu uniforms are expensive, so.
yeah, don't give away a $100 uniform, but you get the idea. So you do the flyer, and it's $29 free month uniform, and preferably you layer it on. We were always having the free personal one-on-one evaluation and the free DVD and CD and all that stuff, right? But then what you do is find, if you want to do a charity that's not the school, you find the local, most reputable, no scandals on where the money goes. Everybody, they're one step removed from Mother Teresa. I mean, that's what you're looking for. And that's not United Way, and it's not, right?
We did
So-
one for breast cancer, and in our community, it just so happened that they were very active. So anytime you see who's set up for some kind of charity, talk to them, find out who's the head in that district. They have a district, and then we went to the district, we found who were the head in our county, and then in the county, we worked out a deal with them where we were gonna donate 2 weeks in a uniform, and we would set up a poster and a banner at every one of their booths where they were collecting donations. And it would say right there, make a donation and get 2 weeks in a karate uniform or a karate t-shirt, I forgot which one we did at the time. And they had tables set up all over the community. We didn't
Where they
have
were
to
pushing
do
it, yeah.
They were doing it.
That's even, better.
They let us know. We actually went with them the first times to make sure
Yeah.
that they were getting our coupons out and doing it and kind of training the people. Because I had a couple of my parents that were volunteers for their organization is how we actually
Yeah,
started the process.
but what I did specifically for that one is I called and I found out who the head of the Children's Hospital Foundation was. That was the charitable end of the organization. Set a time to meet with her. Her name was Wanda. And I said, hi Wanda, I'm Stephen Oliver at Mile High Karate. We have locations around, we've been around for, whatever it was, 25 years. And we've done a lot of fundraising with Project Concern International, with Kick Drugs Out of America, However, what we'd like to do is we'd like to really marshal all our forces and focus on helping Children's Hospital for the next year or two. She said, oh great, what did you have in mind? I said, I just wanted to run this by you and make sure it was okay with you, but what we thought we would do is donate a month of lessons. Typically that's $200. A martial arts uniform retails for about $50. A book, a DVD, and some other stuff, and bundle it all together. And then what we'll do is we'll sell that as a package for $49. And we'll make it where they write a check, the $49 goes 100% to you. And then we've donated everything. And she goes, well, what about the expenses? I said, we're gonna cover all that. So we're gonna cover printing, distribution, the thing. You're gonna get $49 out of $49, 100% of the gross. Now, what are they used to? They're used to, we're gonna do the Mariah Carey charity concert. Mariah gets $500,000 for the day. You pay for her jet fuel and the charter jet and the 22 bottles of Dom Perignon in back, and you pay $50,000 for the facility and you get 22 cents at the end of the day because it was a charity concert. That's what they're used to. All the big charities, when you see the charity concert, is, don't mistake it, usually all of the acts are getting paid their normal fee, they're paying for their private jet, and they're getting 10% of the net, right? So when you say you're getting 100% of the gross, they go, really? Yeah. Well, why are you doing that? Well, our charitable donation is two things, the donation of our time and the donation of the hard resources. For each one we sell, it'll probably cost us in hard dollars $25, $30 plus the time, and then we're gonna do the printing, right? Doc?
One of the caveats is you need to get a letter from, on their letterhead, so you didn't mention that part, so.
I wasn't there yet.
Okay, sorry.
I wasn't there yet. And so naturally she says, well, what do you need from us? And I said, well, I wanted to run it by you, make sure it was okay with you. Oh yeah, that would be great. Fantastic. What might help, again, this isn't like, here's the list of 22 demands. You know what might help is if you wouldn't mind putting together a letter on your letterhead that could go out to the school districts and perhaps to the individual elementary schools, because we're mostly going to be working directly with elementary and middle schools, that would just say, this is a joint project, Children's Hospital, all the money goes to Children's Hospital, and ask if they'd be so kind as to cooperate. Oh, I'd love to do that, right? So now I got a personal letter to the superintendent of Jefferson County Schools, superintendent of Douglas County Schools, Denver Public Schools, Adams County Schools, Cherry Creek Schools, Littleton Schools, and I got a template of it that I could use to give to all the PE teachers, that I could fax and give to the principals, that I could, you get the idea, right? So then what happened is we took the template that said, dear teacher, or dear educator, and we put a copy of the letter on top of every bundle, right? So when we had a bundle of 30, we had her letter on top. And if we had a letter from like Jefferson County District, if they'd given us something that said, this is approved, or this is approved subject to, we'd put that with it, right? Now, I had relationship enough with some of the schools, I could walk in, go into the teacher's lounge, put it all in the boxes, they just pass out whatever I wanted. Others, nowhere near that relationship, right? But that's the way we got that started, okay? But let's go back to this. what else can I do to promote, to get those 500 kids from Leewood Elementary School?
Recreation department.
What?
Recreation department.
I can go to the PE teacher, sure, and, so I can do a variety of things. I can do a PE teacher for the day with different excuses for doing it. I had schools years ago where the PE teachers say, hey, we have a field day tomorrow, do you want to come be the substitute for the day? So now, like any time that he was gonna call a substitute, they'd call me. Or call one of my instructors and we'd go cover for the day, right? And by the way, all day, you know, the kids are getting stuff, but I'm saying, okay, everybody say this after me, 740-2291, okay. Everybody say tonight at 6:15, everybody say tomorrow night at 7, come to your, right, I mean, literally. But what else can I do?
Trunk or treat for Halloween.
Trunk or treat for Halloween, good.
How many have done that? Alan, yeah.
You
Alan,
can kick butt on that. Okay, what else can I do?
I think I saw some people look a little puzzled when they say trunk or treat.
You know what trunk or treat is?
No.
Everybody opens their trunk, and it's a Halloween trick or treat thing, but they set up in a parking lot.
And usually in a
So-
church or something.
Yeah, the one we did the kids was at their church. And some of them get really elaborate. So somebody pulls up their big van and they have a little mini haunted house, or they decorate it and there's, you know, weird noises coming out, or they have a smoke machine. And some of it is somebody's old Chevelle and they have the trunk open and they're giving candy.
Last year I rocked one. I actually had in 90 minutes, 98 appointments in 90 minutes. We
How
rocked
many?
it out. 98 appointments in 90 minutes.
90 appointments in 90
98
98?
in 90.
That's good. That's amazing.
Anybody be happy about that?
Yeah.
Okay.
And
Whoa,
if anybody has any pictures from that to give, and I always feel like it's always better to have a visual.
Yeah.
You know, I know when we did the movie theater promotions, people weren't decorating their tables right, but once we started posting pictures, every one I saw after that got more elaborate, so.
Everybody raise your right hand, repeat after me. I promise anything I have a success with, I promise anything I have success with, I'll post all that stuff for everybody else. Okay, good.
So in the members group, make sure you use
In the secret members group, not to the general numbness population, yes.
It's a good time to comment, that's for all of us.
Last Halloween, we did one, it was, I think, with the YMCA.
Was this for Leewood Elementary?
Yeah,
Oh,
we
okay.
did a trunk or treat. And, we had, you know, the line was starting to back up, and here I am getting annoyed, like, come on, guys, get on and step up. And then I realized, wait a second, the more the line forms, the more people that are coming.
Jump in line.
thinking, This is where we need to be. So then I got smart, I said, all right, well then you guys start going up and down the line, booking appointments
Oh, yeah.
before they come spin and,
Yeah.
you know, get their stuff. We got so many leads from that one, yeah.
Very good, very good.
Another point on that, you know, as far as the lines go, I mean, we've had those events where, you know, it's like you're in an awkward spot or whatever, getting people to get in your
Yeah.
line is pretty tricky, even when you send out your forces and balloons
Yeah.
and all that other stuff. And so what our director will actually do, and it's pretty funny, is she'll actually take the clipboard and she goes and finds the porta potties and she works the porta
The line.
And it's very, very effective. I mean, she'll
Okay,
because they're not
give a hand on that. You catch them in the
Well,
porta potty,
you know,
somebody's gonna go.
And the concept is exactly right. You know, the old Karate Kid days, we worked the ticket lines. So we would work the ticket lines and make appointments while they're standing in line, nothing better to do.
Could you
So that's
post some
exactly right.
pictures for that?
But you really have to like,
No,
and I use that as an example for our
Yeah.
team because you got to give them that image of you got to go out there and get it.
Right.
They laugh about it, but then you know,
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
they know that's where those appointments come from.
Okay,
Who's the best?
Maybe a person with their lines.
what else can I do with Leewood Elementary School?
What about for Halloween, like the candy safety, like and hand out a packet to the kids to give out to their classmates?
Yeah, we could do the martial arts school package for Halloween safety, and it exploits all the urban myths of razor blades and shit that never actually happened, and it you know, because never play into that crap, right? I mean, you know, don't be afraid of your child having an apple. This has never happened in 122 years. It's an urban myth, you know.
And when he said that, Halloween, you know, since it's coming up before long,
Is this in Leewood Elementary?
we did a little bag where we gave the students a bag to take home of 50 and they were just a little lollipop. With, attached to it was our guest pass for 2 weeks with a free uniform and 2 weeks of lessons free, and it was attached to the lollipops. So we gave each of our students, and we would ask them, how many bags do you need? Because when the trick-or-treaters come, then they just hand them out. I mean, you know, you have 200 students, and you give them each 50, or you give them 100. It depends on how many trick-or-treaters come to their house. You're gonna get a lot of leads out there.
Okay, Adam?
I have two fast questions. Two would be, fun runs and field day.
Yep.
And fast questions for the banners. Back to school banner, any one you suggest, like, cause my city, my landlord's kinda grumpy, so I'm gonna put it to my side, take it down every day. So any banner you recommend, like, you know, back to school special or 2 classes or something?
Yes. Make a note on the tablet to come back to that when we get over to Leewood Elementary School. Okay, so I have Leewood Elementary School.
Oh, I'm sorry, you were.
We're herding cats here. Leewood Elementary School, what else could I do for Leewood Elementary?
Fall festivals.
Cultural Day, so I can do Career Day and Cultural Day. So we did tons of Cultural Day, so we can come represent Tangsudo Taekwondo is South Korea, everybody say South Korea, not North. Or, you know, you can represent Brazil, or you can represent Thailand, or you can represent Japan, right? So you can do cultural days, you can also do career days. You know, here's your career as a martial arts instructor, right? What else can you do?
Fall festivals.
Fall festivals.
Spring festivals.
Fall, Christmas,
Holiday.
spring, holiday.
Not everybody can use Christmas these days.
And those are all on calendars.
Okay, so,
Those are all on the calendars on their websites. All this stuff is already on their websites. You guys think about.
including the PE teacher email address or
And the
voicemail number or
PTO, and
both.
the PTO president, the PTO email address, and often their phone
Right.
numbers.
I've heard this, never seen it, I do it with field trips, like people bring buses to the school.
Absolutely, field trips. So they come to you. Good. What else?
School demonstrations.
School demonstrations. And I can do school, and I'm trying not to critique each of those. You have the big demo team and they're great and they fly through the air and you put music and the crowd assembles and they're all in the auditorium and they perform for them. That in and of itself doesn't do much. On the other hand, if I have the kids in the gym and I have 70 of them and I can get them to do a class, that's a lot better. The more you can move toward, now any exposure you can get, right? But the more I can move it towards, I'm not talking, they're taking a class of some sort, right? The better off I am. And the way you get all of it to work best is permission slips ahead of time. Does that make sense? Okay.
What I've been doing is trying to find out, because we're still trying to
Right.
figure out all our schools. So I'm finding, okay, kids, what school do you go to? Let's make a demo team with just you guys, just for your school.
Yeah.
And then that gets me in the door of the schools.
That's interesting. That's like a
That
talent, almost like a talent
Yeah.
show off for
Yeah.
that.
Well, we've done a ton of that stuff where we prep them for the talent show. But you take their ID cards, just every class, go through and say, a couple quick questions. What elementary school do you go to? Are you in Scouts, Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts, Webelos? Are you a cheerleader? Do you go to daycare? Okay. And just go through each one and get the list of what they do. But what else can you do for Leewood Elementary School?
Other sports?
You can go through the coaches and the other sports, and you can go through the sanctioned or not sanctioned sports that happens. So most of like elementary schools have a Boy Scout troop, they have a Girl Scout troop, they have a soccer league, they have a baseball league. We used to have a deal with Rocky Mountain Flag Football League. They had 82,000 kids. And the head of Rocky Mountain Flag Football League, Mike Messigates, his 2 kids were black belts. So he would send a letter to all 82,000 at the end of the year. And the letter included, one of the things that the best thing I ever did for my kids was they're in Mile High Karate. And what I recommend for all of our Flag Football League kids is in the off season, they continue to train and cross-train. The best possible recommendation I have is Mile High Karate. I'm so enamored with them. I lined up for your child to have a month free lessons and a free uniform, courtesy of Rocky Mountain Flag Football League, right? So, but what else can I do at Leewood Elementary?
If you're doing an after-school program, you can have the gym teacher hand out flyers to all of the students. put the flyers in the Friday folders, and then have each one of the teachers give them stickers with your phone number and, you know, all the information.
Yeah, put on their chest, good.
So
What else?
passive marketing for the after-school program,
Yeah.
prior to the after-school program.
Yeah,
That's where a lot of people mess up because they end up just, there's an after-school program, oh, we'll put you in our packet. You know, like the schools have a packet for all their after-school stuff.
And by the way, all these,
That's inadequate.
all these schools have a queue of parents who come in every day picking up their kids. If the school is enamored with you enough, you can go through the line as the parents are picking up the kids and make appointments or promote the after-school program right there. I've done that a ton of times too. You can have a big banner in the front of the school. You can have movie posters, size posters in the windows. You can have PA announcements. So they're making PA announcements on it repetitiously to promote the event. PA announcement the day of the after-school program to remind the kids to show the hell up, right? A lot of the schools do broadcast voicemails, so they can do a broadcast voicemail in the announcement. And don't forget, we have the special thing. They have email that go out. Don't forget, we have the special thing. They have Evite and online registration sometimes. So those are all things that you can add to that. But what else could I do with Leawood Elementary School?
So I'm donating to the auction, school auction.
Yeah.
And then
So-
also, we host a parents' night out on the auction night, so the parents can bring their kids to us while the parents go and donate money at the auction.
Yeah, yeah. So they have a silent auction. I could give them one big thing that they can auction off, but I could also give them door prizes. So I could give them a 2-week pass, free uniform pass for everybody. Then I could give them a 3-month pass worth $600 that they can auction off, right? Now, it doesn't do them any good or you any good to make it like a big package. And actually, the likelihood of them selling it is lower than the likelihood of, we used to do year packages and, you know, out of every 10 year, one of them would ever actually show up and they would have sold it for $22, right? So you want to do that, but what else could I do? You guys need some help here right now, Steve? What else could I do?
Some of our schools have boys and girls clubs after school.
Good.
Right.
Well,
So you
absolutely.
can go into there, they need something done because they're tired.
That's where all we're on that.
Yeah. Now, all of them, hold the thought, all of them have something after school or before school. They either have it on site, and mostly they have it on site and buses running, right? So they have the Children's World has the bus, La Petite has the bus, the other numbnuts karate guy who's doing after school care has the bus. 3 others have the bus, right? So you can network through everybody who's picking up kids at the school, go through their before and after school directors to do stuff. If you have trouble getting in to do something with the main school, that's low-hanging fruit. So you can go in and do a class there, build a relationship, and then have them introduce you and have them tell the school how great a job you did. You got a thought?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, if there's a charity auction or anything like that, don't forget the opportunity to have something like a spin wheel in the back of it. So when people are leaving, then here's somebody who will raise more money for you. So whenever there's people and there's especially parents, and that's a good opportunity.
Anytime you can be present,
Yeah, anytime.
as opposed to just giving them stuff.
It is, to get your brain going on this, anytime there's kids, only, we need to follow the process of making sure there's permission slips. Anytime there's parents, we need to figure out some way to set appointments as best we can. So that's kind of how I split the
A lot of the schools do, go to a certain restaurant that night, and then the restaurant kicks back money. We do the same thing with intros, get them doing that, it's intro night.
Chick-fil-A's big on
Yeah,
that.
it's
They do
intro
that.
night at the studio.
Well, yeah, you could do 2 things. You can have the night at your school where all the money goes to the
Right.
school, right? But also, like they have the Chick-fil-A night, they have Chipotle night, shouldn't you be there also? So you can be at the Chipotle night, helping the school, so you can be, hey, are you with Leawood Elementary School? Fantastic, make sure you tell them up there. We're also doing a $29 donation pass for Leawood Elementary School. So you also get a uniform and a free month of lessons. If you'd like to also make that donation, 100% will go to Leawood, make it out, the donation to Leawood, right?
You could break it like if on hand, I went to the tournament at the school, and they gave 25% of profits.
Yeah. Absolutely, absolutely. Now, what else could I do with Leawood Elementary School? Come on, guys. What else could I do?
We've done like STEM initiative classes.
STEM classes, okay, good. Here's what I always did, okay? Another,
So,
what's this?
science, technology, engineering.
Yeah, but you can go in and do something for them, you could show them the physics of a round kid, I mean, you can be creative enough for that. And there are some books out there. I think, even Bill Walsh he has a master's in kinesiology. A couple of his first books, he did the analysis of the musculature and all that stuff. So, you remember that first one he did, I think it's called Stretching, where he did that. Yeah,
He's done about half a dozen.
yeah. For as jovial as he is, he's a very smart, educated guy. But what else? Okay, how about this? I'm gonna line up an after-school program. Okay? So I really want to promote, my mission is as high a percentage of those 500 kids in that school as humanly possible, right? Option one is a PE teacher who's a buddy of mine gives me the school directory so I can do direct mail to the school director, right? That happens, it doesn't happen, sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't. Some other parent. Most effective direct mail, you take back direct mail I ever did, by the way, was excited mom who was also PTA, gave me the school directory. I did a letter. The envelope was Sue Jones and her address. The addressee was the kid in the or the parent in the directory. The letter was, "Hi, I'm Mrs. Smith. My son Billy, who's 7, goes to school at Leawood Elementary with your daughter Joan, who's 9. I've had Billy in Mile High Karate for 3 years. He just got his black belt. We're so excited about it that I made a deal with the school and purchased a free month of lessons for all of Joey's classmates because I know it'll have such a positive ripple effect on the school, right?" Mailed it out to everybody in the directory. Worked like a charm. We got blowback from the school, and I had a deep enough relationship I didn't want to repeat that. So then what we started doing is that we got a school directory with data interim and mail it generically, but not mail it like with the kid's name and stuff, right? But I'm doing the after-school program. I haven't heard this. What else can I do to market to Leawood Elementary? Could I do bandit signs in in and around the neighborhoods at the intersection around Leawood Elementary, so everybody at Leawood Elementary suddenly sees your school, Mile High Karate, 92 times a day, right? Yes.
What do you say on a bandit sign? What is that? What's on it?
Oh, real simple. I mean, 2 free weeks karate phone number, right? Logo.
But not your name. What's
Well, you can have your name, right? But what you want to do is you want to make sure if somebody's driving 20 or 40 miles an hour past it, at a glance, they see what it is. I've seen some around one of our old guys, but he has these bandit signs, he has a banner, and when I'm driving past the banner sign, I can't read what it says. And when I look at the banner on the school, I can't read what it says. He did it in like pink background with baby blue letters or something like that, right? I mean, you gotta, yellow background or white background with black letters. I mean, bold, yes.
Prefer phone number over your website?
If it's something they're gonna be responding to in the car, I would have a number where they can call or text, okay? Hate to say this, one of the guys we were working with in Brooklyn, first time I ever saw somebody do really well with billboards. But he had the text, Marshall, text MA or text martial arts or something to 3456 on the Long Island Expressway for a free, and it was working like a charm. Same principle, right?
Simple, 3, 4, whatever.
Real simple, right? But Leawood Elementary School, I'm going to go in and do a gym teach for the day, or I'm going to do a school carnival, or I'm going to do something else. What do I really want to do? I want all 500 of those families to see me 9,823 times, right? So what should I do? Well, is there a Domino's that delivers to that neighborhood? Yes. Shouldn't I have flyers on every Domino's box in that neighborhood, even if none of it? Is there a Pizza Hut that delivers that neighborhood? Yes. Should I have flyers on every Pizza Hut box that goes to that neighborhood? Sure. Is there are there retail in that neighborhood? Sure, shouldn't I have rack cards in every retail store in that neighborhood if I'm doing that school? Sure I should. If, again, bandit signs, I should have bandit signs out everywhere in that neighborhood. Not enough to irritate the school, so don't put the bandit signs, all around school property, right? But, in and around, I should do that. If they don't have, or if I can't get a school directory, I can go into Sales Genie. I can pull the list. I know what the district map is. Hell, it's on their website. I can map out the district map. I can find every school-age kid from, say, 4 to whatever it is, 12, that goes to that school. I can map out the district. I'm going to miss a few because some of them don't live in that district, and I'm going to miss a few because some of the ones that are on that map go to a private school, a parochial school, or something like that. But I can direct mail directly to everybody in that district, or as close as I can get to it, while I'm doing something in that school. Does that give anybody some ideas? Right? I can draw from Sales Genie if I want that same map, maybe expand the radius, and I can find every other business that supports that school. Who supports an individual elementary school? Maybe orthodontist is middle school, but who? Kids, dentists? So I could do co-promotions with pediatricians, with kids' dentists in that immediate area. Like my kids, a private school up by my house, there was Kids to College is a dental practice, and every time you went to anything, that dental practice was passing out free toothbrushes and had a booth in one thing or another. Probably half the kids in that school went to her, who was like 3 times more expensive than anybody else in the state of Colorado. Why? She was anchored in with that community, right? So you draw the radius and you figure out what other businesses, so what other businesses can I co-promote with? Does that give everybody some ideas? Right, so part of it is when you do something, what most of us do is we scratch the surface. Well, I'm working on that elementary school. Great, what did you do there? They have a carnival in October with a trunk or treat, I'm gonna do that. What else? Well, what else could I do? Well, we're not done yet. You get the idea? Yeah.
Mr. Oliver, so implementing this strategy, would you be intense on like, okay, I'm gonna target this school area and then I'm gonna get this other area?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's rather than your diffuse throughout the community.
Right.
Attacking 10 schools.
Well, that's right. Let's go back to the primary focus here of principles, right? Principle number 1 is what?
Murphy's Law is right.
Murphy's Law is right. Okay? What's principle number 2? Parthenon. Always have a bunch of stuff going on. What's principle number 3? It's better to drill deep with the exact right audience than to rifle shot or to shotgun shot across a broad spectrum, right? That's the point of that. So, let's say this is my ideal neighborhood. There's homes on the golf course, 3-car garages. There's solid middle-class neighborhoods. Maybe there's a solid Hispanic predominant neighborhood and a great couple Catholic churches there that feeds from that neighborhood. And this is like my perfect neighborhood. I don't want to scratch the surface, right? So I want to figure out that neighborhood, and then I want them to see me everywhere they turn, right? And I'm much better to go deep, 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 deep than try to go across the whole spectrum. Does that make sense? Okay. But that's, principle number 3 is find your ideal audience. And drill as deep as humanly possible.
Master Oliver?
Yeah.
So in a hypothetical, let's say you have a private school has come to you with a win-win scenario of we're going to give you access 4 times a year to our school, but the terms and how that's going to work out are negotiable. So you're going to get access to the most kids if you do it during school hours, the way I think about it, because during school hours they can call an assembly. However, there are going to be no parents there, so you're going to be relying on the students and the teachers to actually relay that information to the parents who are the decision makers. Or you could have it after school where it's gonna be voluntary, where you may not get nearly as many children, but you're gonna have parents who are interested, and there you can get to drill down. Do you have examples, or have you heard examples of which one is more effective and how that worked out?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Now, and let's tie this to the broad principles, right?
Correct.
Is everything you want to do is to move them from that venue to you.
Correct.
So you don't want to become a school employee. A good friend of mine sadly passed away a few years ago from cancer. He was a Vietnam vet, Agent Orange, same deal as Joe Lewis, Terry Bryant. But Terry brought me this idea, and I had helped him get to, million plus, and then same scenario. And he was the martial arts instructor for Air Force Academy. I think same time you were West Point. Sometimes you guys, right? He had gotten divorced, a bunch of things had happened, and now he had come up with this plan where the school district was paying him a salary to teach martial arts to the kids directly in high school. And he brought it to me and outlined the whole thing, and isn't this great, and you can tell everybody about this, and here's something I can give back to you, and you can do it. And I just hated the whole idea. But what I hated about it was it didn't have a good mechanism. To me, if you were going to do that, that's the charity. That's Kick Drugs Out of America. We were working real hard for a while to bring Kick Drugs Out of America to Colorado, and the teachers' unions and the education establishment in Colorado was too draconian. You could be Bill Gates and they wouldn't let you come and teach computer programming in a Colorado school without going to a crappy teacher college for a year and getting, or 2 years and getting certified.
Credentials.
Right. So we couldn't do it. But as long as it's something that's going to be short-term where it pulls them into the school, not an ongoing permanent thing, right? So you don't want to be, the daycare is paying you to do it, the private school is paying you to do it, and you're there all the time, right? Now, the second question is, are you better off to have it be a class where all the kids go through 6, 8, 10 classes as part of the regular curriculum as an obligatory? Or are you better off for it to be some kind of after-school thing where it's optional? I've always split the middle. So something where all the kids do 1, 2, or 3, and I usually 1 was enough, but a couple or 3 would be fine. It just becomes real labor intensive, okay? That then promotes the after-school program, right? And here's what we were finding. We were replicating the after-school program with like summer day camps. But what would happen is if we went into a summer day camp and they have 80 kids, and we would go do the full after-school program, 6 or 8 lessons, permission slips, registration forms, all that stuff, at a summer day camp, it was missing a component that made the conversion work. The component was they raised their hand and they paid some money to register, right? Because what happens is 500 kids, and they all do it a little bit, gets exposure. But then you get 20% of them who go, that looks really cool, and the parents are willing to write a check even if it's a really small check. Now you've sorted out all the ones that are interested, whose parents are willing to get engaged. And then you can have a very high conversion rate from those. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So ideally is mix the two a little bit. And if they were willing to let me come in multiple times a year, what I would do is say, how about if I came in first month or 2 and did like a 1-day program for all the kids. Now I've had schools where you had to do four full days to get all the kids, right? So they were on a track system, and you had to hit track A, B, and C, and then track D. But what I mean by that is you would teach all the kids once, next quarter teach all the kids once, next quarter teach all the kids once, promote an after-school program. Before you teach all the kids once, you get permission slips, teach all the kids once, then do the after-school enrichment program. Now, the after-school enrichment program, it's hard to go back to that well more than once a year because you get diminishing returns every time you do. My ideal is about every 18 months. So, Steve, would you say it's about right?
Yes.
How often are you going back to schools and doing well?
Some of them we do every year, but the numbers do decline quite a bit,
Okay.
so about every other year.
Yeah, so if I had my choice, I'd do a school fall semester this year, wait till the next school year, spring semester, then do one. And space it out like that, so like every 18 months, where I do the full-blown after-school program. Okay? Does that give you enough?
Yeah.
Okay.
After all of those after-school programs, you gotta be careful a little bit. I've had some people we tell to do that, and then they say, oh yeah, I'm in an after-school program, but they ended up being in, kind of like what I mentioned before, what the school already has is an after-school program, which is 18 weeks, once a week of chess or dance or something. Okay, that's not very productive. It's too long. The parents are very easily
Distracted.
Yeah. Well, they drop the kid off and they do the thing and they pick the kid up and then it's done. It's just a way to give basically childcare for a couple hours. So the schools already have those kind of programs set up. You have to present this as a different thing, that you're fundraising, it's an after-school enrichment program, and the way it's set up and structured needs to be different. So
Yeah.
don't let schools force you into doing it. I mean, if we had to, we'll do it their way if we really want to be in a particular school because it's really close. But we really want to influence how they're doing it. Otherwise, they get very low turnout and it isn't very productive.
Yeah, and recognize, coming back to some of the principles, but to expand on what you said, I've had people who went to the school and their presentation was, we have this great fundraiser, we're gonna make a bunch of money for you by doing this. Thinking that's a good thing. And immediately their reaction is, well, we've promised the parents we only do one fundraiser a year, and we have this year booked and we have next year booked, so we'll consider it in 2019. See, so you've got to be careful what frame you put on it, right? It's got to be, here's a wonderful thing that's going to have a massive positive ripple effect throughout the kids and throughout the community. It's going to teach them better discipline, focus in class, how to be more respectful of teachers. By the way, we have the kids pay a small fee, but we like to donate 100% of that money back to the school. Now, if they, see a lot of the schools now, I'm finding are antsy about fundraisers. They've had the kids selling, Christmas wrapping paper and everything in between. So I don't present it as this is another fundraiser to rake money out of the parents. This is something wonderful we're gonna do. By the way, we wanna donate 100% of the money back. Yes?
So two things, right? So how do you get the parents involved? And do you guys ever like market to the parents also?
Yes and yes. Is spending a chunk of time on this type of program, is this helpful for everybody? Is this going too deep or not? Who would like to spend more time on this? You gotta make a decision. Who would not?
A lot of people didn't make a decision.
Okay.
It's either raise your hand or
And the reason they didn't make a decision is because they haven't committed to doing the school program, because I guarantee you, most people balk because they don't know how to get into school.
Right. Yeah.
They don't, that's the biggest obstacle, because I guarantee you, once you get in there, you have a parent who introduces you, you'll now then go to other schools, and, I mean, look at Steve's one event, 150.
Well, that's not a school, that was a fair, but yeah.
Well, a fair, but I mean, in your school programs, you're getting 100 people in your after-school program, and now remember in the after-school program, and Robert, when you're approaching the school, and you did the after-school, like Master Oliver said, you either do it as a fundraiser or a donation. You're not charging, or you're charging, because the school gets.
Well,
the money.
no, whoa. You're charging. You're just giving 100% of the money back to the school. And I'll explain what
And
I
I'm
mean.
saying charity, in other words, they get the money, or they can donate to charity, whatever they want, it's their money. You're gonna give back to them.
Yeah, well, let's show this a little bit for later this afternoon. Make a note, is I did 3 hours on this in Orlando a few years ago, and I covered every item, nut or bolt of the program. The video of that I posted, I think back around Christmas in the Facebook group, and if you'll remind me maybe Tuesday, I'll help people find that or repost it in the group or on the member site.
Yeah, sometimes if they're too far back, it's a little,
Right.
but if you know how to use that search menu, they tend to pop up with a couple.
Yeah, well, you do two things. You go to the search bar, but I don't think the search searches files and videos. So you can go into videos, and there's not all that many videos there. And it was a U-shape, it was all Mile High Karate people, so it was a U-shaped table, everybody's in a blue shirt, maybe with the exception of me. So all those questions will answer. The short answer for that is, how do you get the parents involved? Parent orientation day, where they're required to show up to learn how it works, first day, and you promote and call and tell them that. As soon as you have the registration, you call them all, do an invitation to the school. I use the excuse that you're gonna size them for the uniform, because you're gonna include a free uniform now. You didn't tell them that before. But they get the chance, since the program doesn't start until 2 weeks, they get a chance to come down to the school, take a lesson, and you'll size them up for the uniform and get their uniform. And then in the actual program, we do homework assignments every day for the kids that engage the parents and the teachers, right? So clean your room, thank you, I love you, do it the first time. All this, by the way, if you go to milehighkarate.com, there's a section that says after school program or educator resources or something like that, all that stuff is there, okay? Then do you market to the parents? Absolutely. What I've had the most success with, although we will invite the parents to take class at the after school program with the kids, reality, most of the moms who are sitting there watching the kids feel silly that there's 120 kids and there's the one, you know, so it's hard to get many of them to do it, right? I mean, you can tease them and harass them and try. But we'll have a graduation at the end of the program. And then what I started doing at the program, and we were getting as much as, out of 20 kids who enrolled, I'd get 10 of them would have one or both parents enrolled, okay? But what we do at the after school program is I'd say, now parents, you may not know this, but half or more of the kids that we have in the school have one or both parents that take class with them. Certainly if you're gonna be driving down to the school twice a week, it's stupid to be sitting there putzing around on your iPhone on the benches. You might as well be in class with them. Kids, who would love to have mom or dad take class with you or both? Fantastic. And so I'll have uniforms. And I'll say, here's a uniform, go give the uniform to mom or dad. And mom and dad, you're gonna take class today with them. Another way to do it, which is actually I like better, is you have a stack of uniforms on the front table, and as they walk in, you hand one to every parent and say, go put this on. And they say, what? Oh, we're doing parent day today with the kids. Do I have to? Yeah. Okay. And so then what happens is you just make a big deal at that point of the parent is going to come back with them. You should be doing the same thing with every introductory class you teach, by the way. As soon as the kid comes in for the introductory class, mom and dad takes the class with them. And you just tell them on the phone, now make sure wear something loose and comfortable. You're going to take class with him today. Well, no, this is just for him. Oh, I know. We just want to make sure he's comfortable. That's one way he'll be comfortable. Also, it gives you a sense of what the process is better than, you know, being a passive spectator. You get to be an active participant, right? And then you just add them on. The other way you add them on, though, is make sure you have family classes, right? Because if you say, Ms. Jones, it'd be great for you to come down, you have to come down Tuesday, Thursday at 9 p.m. to take your fitness kickboxing class. Joey's going to be here Tuesday, Thursday. That doesn't work, right? Okay, so, again, principle number one was what? Murphy's Law is right. Principle number two, Parthenon, have a bunch of stuff going on. Principle number three is find your ideal audience. Don't rake across a big group of people. Find your ideal audience and drill deep, right? Now, you can interpret that in a number of ways, and I mean them in all of them, right? So if you get somebody who's your ideal audience, you keep dripping on them and dripping on them and dripping on them and dripping on them and dripping on them, right? If you get somebody who's expressed any level of interest, you accelerate that, right? Yes, sir?
So you've done a lot of marketing around kids. Now, what charity events do you do, or anything you do marketing to adults?
Oh, all kinds of comparables, right? So marathons, fun runs. are two that a bunch of people have had great success with.
Colby did the marathon and got 100 and, what did he get, 100?
Well, it was 180, that's the one we have memorized, 180 leads, 150 appointments, 100 intros, 54 enrollments, 200,000 cash, and 6 weeks from renewals. Not a bad 6 hours of work, right? But everything that we're saying, just what's the adult equivalent? So does movie theater promotion work? Absolutely. You just, instead of going out and doing the new Lego movie, right, you do the Kingsman movie. Or
would you do your booth differently in that?
not much, not much. Do adults like to win a prize? Sure, adults like to win a prize, right? I might not put somebody in a Kung Fu Panda costume, but I wouldn't mind putting somebody in a Wonder Woman costume, right? I'm serious, right? So you just do what's the adult version of it, right? And honestly, there's not that much difference because with the kids, we're not marketing to the kids anyway, we're marketing to the parents, right?
And the TV, you know, everybody, you should have a TV there playing
Right, running.
stuff that's kind of a promo of what you're trying to sell. So if you're gonna promo the adults, run it, have the adults doing stuff that looks fun and exciting and having fun, some adult testimonials.
Yeah. You know the best I saw recently? I was at, maybe it was Comic-Con, and they had this type of projector, which are fairly cheap now, and they had the big booth display, but a big chunk of the booth was white, and they were projecting the video on the booth, right? So they had the video projecting in about that space on the booth. You can see the distance here. So they had a little floor stand projecting the video on the backdrop, right? I mean, that's, you know, and these are what, $500, maybe $700 if it's a decent one anymore. And they're wireless, you can project it off your iPhone. But yeah, I mean, absolutely. Well, there he is. But what else can you do with adults? Well, the adults aren't in elementary school, right? You've got to decide what age group adults you want. I've done a lot of things with fraternities and sororities and with colleges. I tend not to like that market very much, right? But for the more established, more mature, they have social organizations, JC's, Kiwanis, Moose Lodge or whatever, Masonic. They have those organizations. Some of them may skew too old for you rather than being too young for you. But obviously going directly to their employer. We used to do a big thing with Coors. I mean, we're right here. If you look at where the hotel is there a wellness center still there?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So the Coors Wellness Center, where the Starbucks is, if I'm remembering correctly, where the Starbucks is, if you go 2 blocks, there's a big building that used to be a grocery store. It's the Coors Wellness Center. We used to have a deal with the Coors Wellness Center that we could go in anytime we want. And they would promote it to all of their employees. We would go in and do like an after-school program, a couple days a week for 3 weeks, to all of their employees. Why would Coors want that? Well, it's not really the safety. Around here they're not worried about them getting jumped in the dark alley. It's wellness for productivity, and wellness for insurance premiums. Because what happens is corporations are really concerned with what the median level of claims are on their insurance policies because it spikes their insurance costs.
So you do a lot of business to business with that?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Corporations,
So you go,
all corporations are looking for that.
There's not a whole lot of credentials or certifications you need or grants or...
you have them all. You have them all. Yeah, you have to be highly credentialed and certified in what it is you're doing. What are you doing? Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, Muay Thai, self-defense. You don't need a PhD from Harvard from that. In fact, a PhD from Harvard doesn't know what the fuck he's talking
You just
about.
put your bio together.
Yeah.
Just have the bio of your association, your group there.
Mostly they never ask. We did the same thing with US West, which became Quest, which became CenturyLink. We had a deal with them where they would do payroll stuff. Now, this is the biggest employer in the state of Colorado. May still be, I don't know. But at one time, and Coors was like number 5 in the state. US West, when they became Quest, is they would have annual employee events. And big employers, they all do this. They, Quest and Coors would both rent out Elitch Gardens, which is the equivalent of Six Flags for the day, and it would only be their employees. They would have a big thing at the Western Stock Show Arena, where it would only be their employees. What is that? It's just a fair or carnival, but it's an isolated group. It's all US West employees. It's all Coors employees. They would let us come in and do anything we wanted in their employee events. So we could set up an area this size, matted, we could have classes, we could do a booth, we could have the prize wheel, we could have the videos. It was almost as effective as the Boy Scout Jamboree when we did it. But they would also do payroll stuffers, so they would send out the pass. All of the big employers in the big like apartment and condo complexes, they like having something that you're a Google employee, therefore they give you 25% off. You're a Google employee and therefore, they give you special free compensation. They like having stuff like that because they want people to be happy that they're working there, right? So I used to do that with apartment complexes. All the way back to when I was working for the fitness center chain, is we would do, we had one of the guys where he beat me out for #1 salesperson of the month. And the way he did that is he signed a corporate client who did 100 memberships, right? So corporate clients will do bulk memberships, okay? Corporate clients will let you come into events. They'll distribute things internally for you. They'll let you come in and do the adult equivalent of PE teacher for the day, the adult equivalent of an after-school enrichment program. We've done that with the Denver Broncos. We've done that with the Denver Nuggets. We've done that with Coors, US West. Don, do you remember a few that I don't?
Yeah, you've covered most of them here.
What?
You've covered most all of them.
Yeah, the biggies, because those were the big, we did with Ultimate Electronics. And with Ultimate, it wasn't so much about their employees, it was about access to their customer base, which would be, because like, what we did with Ultimate Electronics is they put us in their ads, and they were spending, God, what would you guess, Greg, $5 million a year in this market in advertising?
Yeah, I mean, every month that ad was like 100,000.
Yeah, they were spending big bucks, but they put us in all their circulars, they let us do booths in their stores, they gave out certificates for us for everybody who bought more than, I think it was $1,000, but you weren't going to walk into this, unless you're buying a wire or something. If you bought a TV or stereo, you're going to drop $1,000 or more in the place. It was all high-end electronics. They got Amazon. But does that give you some ideas? So, big major employers, places where adults hang out, right?
And you would approach it with the same concept, hey, it's about, making sure they're healthy and it would be productive.
Healthy and productivity, yeah. Healthy, productive, and safe. So if you have employers who are dominant female, we did a bunch of big hospitals. So we'd do passive restraint, personal protection seminars for all the nurses.
Kubotan,
right?
Kubotan is always an easy one.
Yeah, yeah.
It's good because they have a little keychain,
Yeah.
UPS and FedEx are really good ones too.
Yeah.
Big distribution centers. In every city.
Yeah. But with the hospitals, they have problems with patients who attack the nurses, and then they have problems with nurse leads in the parking lot and that type of stuff. And it's not just nurses, but female doctors, male doctors, but the employers that were dominantly female. We did Hooters. We had instructors love that one. Went through and did self-defense classes.
Did you do that one personally?
I think I did one.
You took one.
Paul Mitchell, yeah. We did a lot with Paul Mitchell. Paul Mitchell hair care products, but they have regional distributors. So we went into the regional distributor who happened to be black belts of ours, and then drilled down in through the hair salons, especially with like cardio kickboxing, we would do that, where we would drill down into the hair salons and the tanning salons and so forth. Yeah.
So one more thing, so you're doing this from a basis of, is you trying to get the initial enrollment right then and there from the company, so hey, let's go through your company and they're gonna pay for everything, or is it more like the enrichment program where you're just trying to get them in the door and talk to them, that way you can get them to the school?
Whichever one you can pull off. I would love whatever you can pull off. In other words, if I could have Coors write me a check for the full tuition for 100 people, I take that any day. I never pulled that off, okay? In the fitness center environment, we used to pull it off all the time, okay? But secondary, if I can't get them to do that, what I want is something where they're gonna, ideally, where I go in and they participate. They become a student. I get their contact information, then I schedule them to move them to the school, right? Passively distributing information is not as good. Marty?
Yeah, and what would that bulk membership look like? Do you offer some big discounts or?
Yeah, 20% or something like that, 25%. I think the most I ever did was like 25% as a corporate membership. You know, and you can have it be if they buy 10, it's 10% off, and if they buy 30, it's 20% off, and if they break 100, it's 25% off.
By 30 meaning?
30 people. Yeah, yeah. And you can't pull that off. I mean, and especially, you know, like Elite MMA, where you do have a much bigger adult clientele. And by the way, when we did a lot of this stuff, we had 1,500 adult active students at the time. So we were targeting 29 to 35. I never liked 22-year-olds. They flaky and broke, but we were actively and aggressively targeting that audience, right? But yeah, I mean, there's so much stuff you can do. I mean, you just have to translate just a little bit, right? You've done soccer leagues. There are adult softball leagues. There are adult pool leagues. There's, you can team up with bars and restaurants. I've never been a big fan of that, but you can team up with athletic clubs, right? So we've done big stuff. We used to do big stuff with Bally's all the time before they went belly up. We've done deals with 24-hour fitness. We've done deals with Gold's Gym. So, you know, you can go in and do the same thing where they offer a special, you know, self-defense class to all their members. You charge them for it, give them the money. I'm fine with that. All you're working on doing is converting, right? You know, a lot of them have low price points. So you can say, look, you know, we're not trying to compete with you. If they register with us, we'll cover their cost of the membership with you, right? That's the way you can give them a discount. You know, $29 a month membership at Goals to assuage their fear. Everybody that we enroll from the deal will pay their membership for them, so that they're not incentivized to choose, right?
So whenever the corporation pays for full for the employees, are they paying for the full 4-year program, or are they just paying for the basic program in full?
You would probably get they're paying for 6 months or 12 months, right?
And then from there, do you try to convert the people who are coming in from there over to your leadership program?
Yeah. I mean, there are different tiers, and you know, sometimes you can get them to pay for the whole thing, right? Like when I was in that executive MBA program, there was me and one other entrepreneur. We used to lament we're the only ones actually paying our own tuition, right? Because everything else was being paid by like Hewlett Packard. You know, so a lot of them were up by Greg. They were being paid by US West. They were being paid by Coors. You know, the big companies were paying 100% of their tuition. It was interesting, by the way, is the program would bundle everything. So the big companies would pay for tuition, but wouldn't pay for books and wouldn't pay for meals. So the program, it was $36,000 a year for tuition, and then all the books were free, and they'd give you lunch vouchers, right? So you know, and like there was a trip to Dubai, so you know, all of it was just wrapped into the tuition, so that the company was paying for what they would pay for the tuition, and they weren't paying for anything else because it was free. So yeah, you can pull that off. That is more of a stretch usually, right? What's really easy is here's a certificate for a month free in the uniforms, get it out to everybody, right? Many of them do all the payroll electronically now, so there may not be payroll stuffers because they're not mailing out checks. But they're doing newsletters, they're physically distributing newsletters, they're doing email newsletters, which isn't as good. They're doing other internal electronics, so, but they're doing live events, which are, you know, they're showing up face to face. There's all that kind of stuff you can do. Does that make any sense? Okay, so let's go back to principles. What's another principle here that we've already talked about over and over and over again? But you're always looking for how you get the thing to convert into an enrollment, not getting them linked into the organization there. So you only want to do things that are going to convert to you, right? But next is you always recognize that there's a buying cycle that people will go through. Some need more time and more education than others, right? So take these after-school programs. Why is it that if we do a good job, we get 10, 15, maybe 20% conversion? Now, I was getting 30, 35%. Best ever was 85%. But why is it we're not getting 100%?
Education.
Well, some of it is that. Some of it is timing, right? So if I have a birthday party and I bring in 40 kids, and let's say they all love it, and all decide they want to do it, how many of those 40 kids are ready to start martial arts? The parents are willing to add something new twice a week and pay for it this month.
Depends.
Who knows, right? You don't know. Maybe 10 or 20%. What about the other 80%?
Over time.
Over time, that's right. So the principle is we are in the business of generating somebody who's shown interest. In other words, we go from suspect to prospect, right? Difference between a suspect is somebody who fits your profile, but they've never raised their hand, right? So, you know, I can have it down to a gnat's ass, but they, homeowner at a certain age, a certain demographic, a certain education, everything else, they're my ideal person. What don't I know? Do they have any interest in this whatsoever? Can I get them interested, right? But then once you move them to prospect, they've shown some interest, they raised their hand. You know, it could be as limited, which isn't very big expression of interest. They gave you their name, address at a booth, or they came into a birthday party, right? See, that's not very much interest. It could be more. They opted into your website, they called you, they came into an introductory class, they didn't enroll. You know they were really interested, right? So you're always looking to generate a prospect, and you can subset those based upon how interested and how good a prospect they were. In other words, if they came in, they opted in, they called you, they came in for an intro, they expressed a lot of interest and they didn't enroll. Well, I can't do it now because. Doesn't matter what the because is, right? Unless it's I'm moving to Dubai. But if I can't do it because right now, that's somebody you should spend all your time, and not all, but you should spend a lot of time and effort on, right? That's somebody who merits, you do all the dimensional mail, and you mail them a FedEx package, you mail them a trash can, you mail them you know, a whole series of packages, you mail to them for 2 years, you mail to them twice, right? Does everybody follow what I'm saying, right? But the principle is you want to go from suspect to prospect and then basically never give up on it. At least don't give up earlier than 12 or 18 months, right? Now, everybody agree or disagree? It's often hard just to get started doing this, right? Because you say, oh my God, you know, you told me I want to mail to them basically 52 times a year, and I want to follow up and I want to do this. How the heck do I do that, right? Well, you do it the easy way. If you can do something the hard way or the easy way, which way should you do?
Easy way.
Easy way, right? See, if you get some highfalutin marketing expert, they might say, make it all sequential and use some, you know, some expensive CRM system. We use Infusionsoft that queues it, and then you send them the first piece, the second piece, the third piece, the fourth piece. Do it all sequential. But what do we already know about curriculum? We do it in a rotating fashion, right? If you're going to follow up, shouldn't it be the same way? So how do you start? Everybody have at least a couple of special buddy referral events in your school every month? Does everybody have at least a couple? Well, every prospect you've ever had should get an invitation to every one of them, right? So you start with that. I've talked to people who had, one was literally like 4,700 pieces of paper of every lead they ever had that had never been data entered anywhere, right? Well, what do you do with that? Data enter. We made a photocopy, boxed them up. I don't think it was even as sophisticated as scanning them. I think we boxed them up, shipped them to a provider in, it was either India or it was in Philippines. who then data entered them for like 2 cents a piece. And then we now had a data file. Does everybody know about Fiverr and Guru.com and all those? Fiverr, was it F-I-V-V-E-R?
F-I-V-E-R-R.
What?
F-I-V-E-R-R.
F-I-V-R-R?
E-R-R.
E-R-R. Fiverr, 2 R's. On Fiverr and Guru.com, and there's another one, well, there's a bunch of them, but on Fiverr, you can go get all kinds of stuff done for like dirt cheap. The name is what people will do for $5. Now the reality is there's almost everything you're gonna do is gonna be more than $5, and that's fine, right? But I mean, I've done. My 9-year-old son wanted to design his own superhero, so he sketched it out, and I scanned it and sent it to somebody on Fiverr for $45. They created his own superhero comic, right? We have that. Seriously, I mean, you guys have seen the comic book version of that? That was on Fiverr. I sent them that one. Greg edited Bob. Bob, you don't exist on that one.
I didn't edit that one, that was from you.
I know, but that's the old one. We added Bob.
It's the one I had Andy for 2 minutes before.
We added Bob. But they turned that one into a cartoon for like $100. But there's all kinds of people who will do white hat, black hat, SEO stuff, people who will do voice talent, people who will do copywriting, people who will do, and they're all, it's international. So some of them are somebody who speaks English in India, and it's like Uber, they all have ratings, so they have 5-star, 4-star, or whatever. It tells you what languages they're fluent in, what they're willing to do. Oftentimes the gig will give you, there's option A, option B, option C. You know, you want this thing done, but you want the rights to use it commercially, you want the rights to use it copyright free, right? But you can get all that stuff done cheap, right? What do most people do? They look at that stack and go, oh my God, I'm not gonna sit there and type that stuff in for 22 hours, right?
Did you get
But-
the source for getting where you can send the voicemail, email, or the ones that are just, you forward the contacts and they do it for you?
I don't know who we use, but there are people, if Fiverr or Guru.com, there's gonna be people there. You know what those are? Those are just electronic gig economy marketplaces where people will do stuff in batch for you, right? But anyway, so how do you get started? Well, okay, I have 2 events a month in the school. What should I do? Well, everybody who's in my prospect database, I should at least like send them a postcard, right? If the database is small, I could use something like Amazing Mail. If it's bigger, I could use ColorWorks, the people that we have the print center set up with. But there's any number of them. I've used, it'll all come to me, but here's a bunch of different providers for that stuff cheap. So I have an event, and I have it on the 15th of the month. What should I do first with all my prospects? Well, would it be useful for them to all get an automated voicemail about the event? Sure. There are some legalities you have to worry about. The less relationship you have with somebody, the more you have to worry about in this order: robocall, text message, automated voicemail, and telemarketing, right? So telemarketing, robocall, text message. On the face of it, text messaging and robocalls to a cold list are basically illegal. But the question is really the practical question is, did you get permission to have the phone number, or was it just from a cold list? If it's from a cold list, don't do that stuff. You'll get in trouble. If it's from a warm list where they gave it to you and gave permission, and if you've been communicating with them without them opting out, you're fairly safe. But the more recent and the deeper the relationship with, right? So you're never going to get in trouble, well, I won't say never, but a brown belt student who's actively training and you're notifying them from the event. They get a robocall from you, live answer, they get a robocall, a voicemail, they get a text, they're not going to care. And if they do, they come in and say, those robocalls came in at midnight and I keep my cell phone because I'm on call, would you mind taking that number off the list? No problem, right? I mean, that's as bad as it gets with that, right? So, but how do you follow up? So I've got this list of prospects. I have 2 events a month. Should they, if it's the Ninja Night, Parent Night Out, would it be okay for them to get 2 postcards? They get a postcard a week out, they get a postcard 2 weeks out? Sure. How hard is that? It's easy. What's it cost? If the list is 1,000 people, it costs maybe $400, $500, right?
Postcards?
What?
With the postcards, really quick, we've been doing it by hand.
Yeah.
Is there a site you use as much that we can just say, hey, send this out to this list?
Oh, yeah.
Do you know what that's called?
Oh yeah, I do. If it's a small list, Amazing Mail. Now, Amazing Mail is per piece kind of expensive, but if I had done the fair that, and I don't know if you did it or not, but if I had done the fair that Thornton just did, and I got 100, what'd you get, like 170 leads, but 150 appointments, I would have, at the fair, had somebody with a laptop make it an Excel spreadsheet. Then what I can do on Sunday is upload the list, and Amazing Mail from Phoenix, Arizona will mail out the postcard on Monday. Okay, that's how quick they are. You can design the postcard, but once you design it, you can save it. Okay, the design is easy. I can do it. And when I say something like that, in the industry, I'm probably the most knowledgeable technical person. Maybe spin propeller head over there, engineer Moody, ahead of me or behind me a little bit on some of the stuff, and Toby, frankly, as well. But I'm a systems guy. When I actually have to touch the keyboard, my patience level isn't very deep. Okay, so I don't like deep learning curves on this stuff. I like to have the picture of what I want to accomplish. I'm really good at what I want to accomplish, so I want somebody else to do it, right? And that's why I love Call Loop, I love Meet Me, and I love Amazing Mail.
Schedule once. Meet Me, you mean schedule once.
Well, what's the other app that does?
Mobile Me.
Mobile Me. That's why I love Mobile Me, and I love Schedule Once, and I love Call Loop.
Mind Me Mobile.
Mind Me Mobile. Joe Gallia has a ringing in his head right now as I butcher that 5 times. That's why I love those apps. We use Infusionsoft. I'm pissed off at Infusionsoft more than I'm happy with it. It's just that it does so much shit, we have no way to not use it, right? I love Call Loop. It doesn't, I don't get annoyed with it. I love AWeber too, by the way. I never get mad at it. I'm never ready to throw the computer against the wall. I never have to call Merrick and say, Merrick, figure this out for me. I never have to call Merrick and say, Merrick, I'm a dumb shit. I don't know what to do. Will you just go do it, right? And keep it out. I have an advantage because I have that propeller head over there, but I have the super propeller head that we keep in the basement, Merrick, who can do any damn thing, right? And he's on full-time payroll. So I don't even have to feel, the only thing I have to feel guilty about is putzing with myself and not telling, that was my fault, and not having Merrick.
Okay, I'm gonna turn that off. I'm gonna show you how to turn that off.
You know what it is? It's my 9-year-old.
Amber Alert.
No, that's not what it was.
Lost kid.
No, that's not what it was. Chase.
You really go far there now.
Lost Chase.
No. Chase thinks it's cool to set my alarm now. He'll get my phone and he'll set the alarm for 12:45 a.m. and then for 2:15 a.m. and then for 3:45 a.m. and then he'll set it with some YouTuber voice or something as the alarm thing.
And you have it, and he knows your password and can get into your phone. That's the problem.
He does.
That's the problem.
Well, what's even worse is he knows how to reset the password. So every time he gets my phone, he resets it to Dan TDM. Because that's his favorite YouTuber is Dan TDM. Anybody else know who Dan TDM is?
You geeks.
That's my daughter's.
There's geeks. You just did the geek test in the room. So.
Yeah.
My daughter's watching.
Oh, okay. It's your daughter. Blame your daughter.
Yeah.
But
daughters.
But, so for that follow-up, right, is, what do I do? How do I get this started? Oh my God, there's all this crap to do.
Master Oliver, on the postcard, it probably would be good for us to go through at some point, how to put the postcard together, what things should be on it, because we've been
Sure.
getting a lot of questions. We did a little bit on a video conference at one day, and I went through critiquing it.
Yeah.
But that was very valuable.
I am going to spend an hour
Yeah.
today on ad design across the board. Because every ad that people send me to critique sucks. I'm trying to think of an example to that.
That one that I just sent you?
Yeah, it was horrible.
Yeah, I hope they're
Yeah,
not here.
it was absolutely horrible. Greg, and I don't mean to be picking on you, you're doing some great stuff, but having a person who can do pretty pictures doesn't create effective results, right? And and I brought some of these, I wanted to give these out to everybody, I'll do it before lunch. But Kelly did that great, beautiful flyer for the black belt test last year, and you've done some really pretty graphics. What you shouldn't do on the website is put them up as PDFs. You should put them up as HTML, because the PDF isn't being indexed effectively by Google. If it was up there as an HTML page, it'll be much better. So when I went and looked at that, I meant to say that before.
Not fine.
You're doing those beautiful, nice, elaborate color newsletters and stuff, like the stuff that had him. But then what's happening is it's going up on your website as a PDF. Okay? Right?
I mean, we have the viewer, I don't know if that counts, but it's viewable on the website. Like, you can scroll down through it. And
Right, it's up there as a PDF. You want to turn it into a real web page. Convert the PDF into an HTML web page. Super simple.
That's above my pay grade, so.
Well, no, but it's literally, they take the artwork and they, nowadays the software is so good, they just say save as HTML, and then you make the links active, okay? But and it can look just as pretty, but all of the HTML will be indexable on the search engines, the PDF not so much, and it'll also make it easier for people to view it. And then you put, for them to share it, instead of them downloading a PDF and sharing it, you just put the share link. So you put a share link up there so they can share it on Facebook, which you have, Twitter, but then there's a share link by email, and then they can send the link to the page. Okay? But how do you get the follow-up? Postcard to promote the event, right? Well, if I was going to promote the event to somebody and I really wanted them to show up, what would I do? Can you send them an email? Sure. So if I'm no more scientific than I have a big, gradually increasing broadcast list in MailChimp or Constant Contact or Infusion or Aweber, then I just do a series of broadcast emails to the list. If at the very least, if I'm doing kids programs and adults programs, I would have things to promote to adults, things to promote to kids. So that's pretty simple. I have two lists, right? I can get more complicated than that, don't necessarily need to. But so I have a ninja night, I send them a broadcast email about it. How many times should I send them a broadcast email about it? Every day for a couple weeks? Okay, maybe twice a day. Can I text them about it? Sure. Be careful about a cold list doing that. You'll get further, the older it is, the more you're likely to get some trouble about that. The broadcast system.
18 months is kind of some of the rules versus email too.
Well, yeah, I would say it this way, is if I have the stack and I haven't communicated with them all for 18 months, that's no better than you went and pull a phone book list. Okay? On the other hand, if I've been communicating with this list regularly, then I can just keep communicating with the list, right? So what you'll see, like the big email marketers, is if they're stupid, they'll let a list sit over here for 3 or 4 months, and then they'll do a broadcast to them and they get a bunch of spam complaints. And now they have problems. But if they're emailing to them every day or twice a day or something like that, they don't have any problems at all, and their open rates go up and the engagement rates go up, right? And there are some rules of thumb, by the way, on day. The worst time to send anything out is Monday, and, which is why I keep mentioning you, Don, don't send it out on Monday.
I'm feeling global though, so Monday is Tuesday.
Well, then differentiate the list. North America send it Tuesday, and Korea send it Tuesday, right? I mean, that's easy enough, right? But,
I guess I'd say I try to send something every day anymore.
yeah, that's better.
That was your guidance, so I do something every
Yeah,
day,
yeah.
so I don't look at.
Because what you were doing is once a week
Yeah,
on Monday.
right, right.
Yeah, but the best day that they're gonna see things are gonna be Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday, right? Yes, sir.
Do you have some ideas for re-engagement strategies for folks who have not contacted in a while?
It's tough by email. It really is tough. Go ahead, Don.
One thing that we talked about the other day, that I think that sort of is interesting conversation today, is that half the stuff you've been talking about is paper or print.
Right.
And the other half, so what is the difference in, I think the audience here, many of them are saying, well, I only use E, or some of you are only using paper, so what is your feeling on that?
Everybody has gotten so enamored with digital marketing that they are gravitating to what feels cheapest rather than what's most effective, right? And that's always a mistake. Well, let's take Facebook, right? Listen to the numbers that we said here with Kelly and Alan. Is $200 an enrollment is great, but it's not free social media marketing, right? There is no such thing on, in social media as free marketing, right? Is where people get mixed up on all that stuff is they end up getting stuck in an area, right? And if you got stuck in an area, get stuck in calling them and mailing them shit, because we know those two things work real well, right? And we also know if you're going to email them, you got to bombard them a lot, and open rates are going down, deliverability is going down. It was interesting. I was working with Dan Kennedy 2 weeks ago now, and Jay Abraham, and they both said the same thing. Everybody's enamored with online marketing. The reality of offline is working better and better than it ever did, and emails going like this, right? And
What
it's,
stuck with me was that you mentioned about when you were doing a paper thing, they can put it up on the refrigerator, and it stays
Yeah.
there for days and weeks, but if it's E, it's there, it's gone in.
oh yeah, it's always gone. And that's,
Just don't tell my kids that, just don't tell them.
Change the password.
If you put it on snooze, it might go off again, you might have to.
There's password slide.
You have it running through the, I don't know.
yeah, be careful, just turn it off, leave it there. But,
Excuse me, Mr. Oliver?
yeah, let's finish what Don said real quick though. Here's the difference between I mail them a postcard and I send them an email. Okay? You send me an email. I've got 200 of them today, and I'm apathetic about looking at any of them. Okay? I mean, I don't know if you guys have seen my autoresponder recently. It's basically I give up. I'm not doing it. Post it in the post on the member site if you really, if we're friends, call me my cell phone if you're not making an appointment, right? But it basically says something like that. But if I send you an email and I'm really interested, what do? I look at the email, maybe I click a link, look at the website, but the question is do I go all the way through the process and opt in? Do I go through the process and call you? Or do I just look at the email, say that's really interesting, and then look at the email? Look at the next email. What happens the minute that I leave that email? Do I remember it? Do I put it in a file to look at it? Do I print the email and put it on the desk? 99 times out of 100, what happens is nothing. You've got me interested, and now it's off with the flow, right? So, but with a postcard, I mean, you've seen my desk. I have I've got the postcard. Like one of the things I'm going to do, like the outdoor thing and the fire pit and all that stuff, and I'm going to get to it when I get to it. But these guys are good, you know, I opted in somewhere and now every week I get the postcard. So I've got the stack of the color postcards, and then they send me a catalog, and I got the catalog, and it's right there stacked on my desk, so whenever I get around to it, I'm gonna be, you know, able to find it. But like Soccer Mom she gets the postcard and is interested, and maybe it takes 4. Maybe it takes the first one, I'm interested, throw it away. Second one, I'm interested, I put it in my day planner, it falls out. Third one, I'm interested, and I'm gonna keep hold of this one. And then the fourth one, I actually put it on the magnet on the refrigerator. When we were doing TV Guide a lot, I'd have people tell us, well, I had 7 of those ads underneath the magnet on the refrigerator before I got around to calling you, right? So the difference between physical and electronic, and it's, by the way, it's not just online. A radio spot, oh, I'm interested, I don't call, it's gone. A TV spot, I'm interested, it's gone, right? So if you're in any kind of broadcast media, that's when you need to be really good at Google. Because if they do take action, they go Google you to find you. It used to be when I was spending money on TV, I had to be in the Yellow Pages, right? Yellow Pages didn't do shit most of the time for us, except when I was spending money on TV. And I could not be there, because all my TV ads would be doing is filling all the other martial arts schools in town, right? So it's the same idea. I mean, that's what you were getting at, is like you can send the CEO a physical book, it's sticked on their desk, it's on their shelf, you send them a link to a Kindle. Well, hell, I think I counted 583 books on my Kindle. What happens to me all the time is I'm on Amazon, I buy a book, and now they're good about it. They say you bought this on a certain date, and they give you a link where you can open it. But half the time I figure out what's on my Kindle because I go buy it again, and then realize I have it. And if it's fiction, I'll open it up and go, oh, I read that already, okay, right? If it's nonfiction, I'll go, oh yeah, that was stuck down, you know, there. So the problem with the digital world is it becomes overwhelming, and people forget that it exists, right?
It's too easy to file away.
Yeah. Or to discard, or hit delete, or forget about, or whatever it might be.
It doesn't mean that you don't do it, it just means that you
Yeah.
won't consider the other things.
But Alan, go back to your question. How do you get it warmed up if it was cold, right? Is one problem you have is with providers, because you start getting too high of spam complaints and they shut down the list, right? If it's email, direct mail obviously doesn't matter, but if it's email, and what you really have to do is you have to go to the list with some kind of I can't resist it offer to get them to go re-opt in, and then that becomes a fresh list, right? So you blast through the cold list, some kind of I can't possibly turn it down offer, where they go re-opt in. Now you've got them fresh, and now you're at them regularly, right? That's really the best you can do. And we've had problems, because we had a list of like 40,000. It's like, I'm constantly having people wanting to give me email lists. It's like, well, if you have a list that you have a relationship with, I'd love for you to send stuff out for us on your list, but I don't necessarily need your list. And most of what people for us are giving us lists that are junk anyway, right? They're not necessarily very targeted. If you had a kid's dentist that offered to give you their list, that's great. What I'd rather have is the kid's dentist email out to his list about us from him, and then I'll email out about him from us. I don't necessarily want to exchange lists. The best use I have for an exchange list is nowadays loading it into Google and loading it into Facebook and showing ads to it as a targeted list. Email is getting harder and harder and harder, rightfully so.
Example of a hard to resist offer?
Oh, we all tend to want to do the get in your car, drive down here 3 times, make the commitment to come in and do it offer for something like that. But you want something intermediate. You know, the free report, the free DVD, the free book, the more tangible it is, the better. The free book and DVD on the 10 secrets to having a perfectly behaved kid who's making straight A's. You know, the 10 secrets to how to have your child who has ADD, the perfect student, and we have a free book and a free DVD that we'll mail you, right? Something like that.
Yeah.
How about for text blast, call loop? What's a great, like, back to school kind of concise offer that they'll call you?
Well, I mean, if, again, we're talking cold list, warm list. If it's a warm list, I would just go back to 2 free lessons, 2 free weeks, free uniform, you know, special back to school offer, $200 discount on enrollment, and first 2 weeks free, something like that.
And with Call Loop, you can put a link in there, a short link that's trackable, and then click on that, and it'll go to your website, or you can call.
Yeah.
So, the only thing with Call Loop, remember, is it's a short code, so if they, you know, they can't call from that number. So I always put, when I use Call Loop, I put a phone number and, I put my phone number and the thing, because, you know, if you get that on your phone, you can just do this, and it calls you back.
Yeah, the other guys, the
Sales message, the ones that or mobile,
either one, sales message and
They'll do a
mine,
long code if you want.
they can do a regular phone number.
Right.
So then they can hit reply and they can call you back.
Yeah,
Call
it
Loop,
can
I don't think
forward, it
has
can
that.
forward. Yeah, Call Loop has a sister company called Sales Message that does, that you can do.
Oh, do they?
Yeah, you have to run it, you can't really do bulk messaging, so MindMe might be better for that.
Okay.
I use it for Infusion and Trigger It.
I was getting ready to hold the paper over the camera. Go ahead.
So a while ago, you mentioned for direct mail options that for a small list, you like Amazing Mail. What do you like for a large list?
Colorworks can do a good job for you. They're the ones that run the back end of the print center that we have up online. I have used, do you remember what Get Members became?
Members Today, well, they can split into a bunch of different ones. Members Today is one of them, and I've used them before, and they're all right.
Handy mail?
Handy Mail is really good. And they're really good, well, we're using them for a lot of postcards and stuff now too. They're a full-blown mail house. And they have a relationship with a printer. They're in Wichita, Kansas. They have a relationship with City Blue Printers and with McManus as a fulfillment company. And now they're only if you're going to do a big list, right? But if you wanted to
What's
send
defined
them
as big?
what?
What's defined as big?
Let's say at least over 1,000. You know, it used to be over 5,000. You know, nowadays with digital printing and stuff, it doesn't have to be as big. But, you know, if you're gonna do, I just did a thing and I have 150 leads, do something like Amazing Mail. Send Out Cards is a really cool app. It's a pain in the ass to deal with. But Send Out Cards, you can actually do your handwriting font, upload it into the system, then you can send what looks like a personally handwritten card and so forth.
I use that one a lot for birthday cards, even personal stuff, but for students or for,
Yeah.
you can upload a list and you can customize it. So it'll say, you know, Bob, you know, blah, 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 and it's my hand, it's literally my handwriting.
Yeah,
What is that called again?
Send Out Cards.
Yeah.
We use Vista Print.
Yeah. Vistaprint for mail house services or just as?
Yeah.
Okay. I've never used them for mail house services. The other one, oh, it'll come to me in a minute.
Well,
There's some guys that are down in Tampa that were really good. They're very direct response oriented, predominantly colored postcards and stuff. And customer service wise, they were almost too much on top of it. Because I had like their customer service rep calling me like every 48 hours about something, and I just wanted here, have it, and go with it, and leave it alone. But if you'll remind me, I've got their information laying around the house somewhere. But they were really good also.
What do you consider big? What do you consider?
Same question. Over 1,000, right? I mean, if I go to Amazing Mail and I do 150 postcards and it costs me $1.30 each, I'm not worried about it, right? On the other hand, if I have a list of 3,000 people and I'm going to pay $1 a postcard, that's crazy, right? So, you know, I can mail out the postcards first class from a mail house for worst case 50 cents, probably 40 cents. I think 40 cents. I think we've been paying 40 cents. So, and that's the, you know, the oversized, right? So So yeah, if you're paying 40 to 50 cents is reasonable, if you're doing 1,000 or more of them.
You might wanna mention just quick bulk rates versus first class on those.
Yeah, you can mail them, what do they call them? They're calling them pre-sorted,
You can't, where people, well, I guess the one I get worried about is when people use, for prospect mail, you shouldn't be using this for prospect mail, because it's your own list.
Yeah.
So what a mail house will often say to you is, well, why don't we just mail to everybody in the neighborhood for less money, and it's every
Every
door
door
direct
direct.
mail? But that's a completely different thing, it's not going to your list. So now you're spending money on people that, might be retired people in a rest home or something.
Yeah.
You know,
but like handy mail is really good if you wanted to do an 8-page letter, 4 pieces of paper folded in an envelope, live stamps. Send out cards is really good if you had a birthday party of 40 kids and you want to send them a card with a picture of the birthday party that looks handwritten with
it's
a
very,
live stamp.
very easy to do that with send out cards, by the way. The only thing with send out cards is, it is a little tricky to use, it's important to list, but yeah,
Well,
it's
and-
really nice.
And we haven't been able to automate it, so we can't get
Yeah.
it to,
Yeah.
supposedly it'll interface, but it doesn't. And
Really?
Yeah.
It's supposed to integrate. Oh.
But you
I-
still have to manually intervene.
Yeah.
Like we've got a postcard provider now that's interfaced with Fusion, so it just automatically kicks it off.
Right.
But,
ZenDirect is another one I've used before. They're okay, but I'd probably just use Amazing Mail. It'll send out cards for those two purposes.
well, for small quantities.
Yeah,
For small quantities.
When you do bigger quantities for the prospects, then it's.
What I like about Amazing Mail is they mail next day. Now they only do postcards. They'll do folded postcard in an envelope, but they only do postcards. But if I was out again at that fair or a movie theater, I could just be data integrated, upload the list, send it to mail this postcard. Tomorrow in the mail it goes out. I can mail it in bulk if there's enough of it, or I can mail it first class. I usually use first class. And, almost anywhere, certainly if you're this area of the country, but there's gonna mail first class from Phoenix, maybe 2 days to get there.
Okay, so we're talking a lot about the physical mail now. What's the content you put on the mail? What are you looking for? Is it like a special? Is it for uniform in a free class? Is it, hey, this week is referral week or buddy week, and we're gonna have people come in, it's a special, it's half off, or what is it? What's the content you're putting on there to get them to come back in or re-contact you?
Well, the right answer is yes, 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 and yes, and no, and yes.
Change it up.
Well, oftentimes, we forget to sit down and look at context. So we want to talk to them as a potential student, not like an existing student, right? So I'll opt into people's lists, anytime I'm talking to a school. But then all of a sudden I get stuff that's worded like I'm a student, rather than worded like I'm a prospect. So when you said referral week, well, that doesn't, I'm not a, and even as a member, referral week may not resonate with me, but this is the week where you can bring your friend down and we have a special thing for, you can do class. Buzz Durkin used to call it his side-by-side program. With side-by-side with your friend and you help teach them, which, he had really good results with. So, but from a follow-up of the prospect list, what you want to do is make it easy for yourself. So you start with every event you do, you're promoting them coming to the event, right? Now, whether it's mail, direct mail, or email, try to balance those two mediums with event, educational, and special offer, right? Keith Hafner did a really good job. I don't know if he's still doing it, but he would mail just newsletter-ish postcards with the message of the week, right? So, whatever message of the week they were doing for their students, it didn't even matter if it synced up, but he would have like 12 messages of the, message from the master, and it was a postcard with a little motivational saying in one thing or another, and then a little explanation of every week in our school, we're working with one of these subjects, here's this week's subject, and see, purely educational, non-promotional. Had the phone number, had the address, but it wasn't trying to be aggressively promotional. With email, you have to do that as, like 3 out of 4 of them are educational, not just pure promotional, right? With direct mail, you can flip it the other direction. But what you want to do is mix it up. So when you have a prospect list, every event you have, as long as you word it like they're a non-member, not a member, keep that context in mind, send them invitations to all of the events. You know, we have a special Ninja Night, you're welcome to come out to. We have UFC Night, Woody Wild Wings, whatever you guys have done recently.
Nerf gun war night, things like that.
Yeah. You know, don't send kids stuff to adults or adult stuff to kids. Don't send women's stuff to men or men's stuff to women, right? Yeah.
Okay, and you said you had 3 pieces. It was the event, the special offer, and then what else?
Educational. Educational. Right? It could be educational, you know, in our context, educational fitness, educational self-defense, educational personal development, right? And, but to start it quickly, think about you have one big list. So promote to that list for every event you have in the school. If you wanted to promote to the list to actually get them to come to the event, how would you do it? You'd email them a bunch of times, you'd text message them, you would do a broadcast voicemail, you'd have a live human being call and invite them, and you would direct mail to them a few times, right? So I might have, whatever the big event is, Grandmaster Justin Miscamino, we're doing a board breaking day, and you get to come down for free and break a board with a former world champion. Great. So maybe I do 3 or 4 postcards to invite them. It could be big oversized postcards. I put a live human being on the phone and invite them. The bigger the list and the older the list, the harder that is to do, obviously. So I would always prioritize by recency. The more recent, the more I'm going to do that. Start at the more recent and work backwards. And in everything you do, by the way, always work that way. Work with the most likely, work backwards rather than the oldest, move forward. I'm going to do a renewal blitz, and I'm violating my own policy. I'm going to do a renewal blitz. I don't start with the brown belts trying to get them renewed and work my way down to white belts. I start with the white belts and work my way up, right? So, but I invite them to every event. Text, voicemail, live person calls, direct mail, email, right? Then, what else do I want to do? Well, back to school is a perfect time to be hitting them with hardcore offer, back to school offer. My rule of thumb has always been 2 to 3 weeks before school goes back into session, and 4 to 5 weeks after school went back in session. So if August 1st is when school goes back in session, starting like right now, I want to be hammering it, right? And I want that to go at least through mid-October, right? So now that can be purely back to school special, and then whatever special offer you want to be using. I tend to gravitate to, I like the 2 free week offer, okay? We can have the argument all day long. Paid offers sometimes work better and convert better. Paid offers sometimes don't work as well. Paid offers sometimes pull well and don't convert well. The simple way to think about that is the longer the time period being offered in the paid offer, the harder it is to convert them. And the shorter period of time in the offer, paid or not, the easier it is, right? So if I could get you to pay $100 for one lesson and you get the uniform, that's going to convert almost 100%, right? If I get you to pay $99 for 2.5 months and the uniform, that's going to convert maybe 30%, right? Because it just stretches it out and it gives them an excuse not to convert immediately. Does that make sense? Oh, dude, it's 12:40. I was planning on we haven't taken a break, so if anybody's about to pee yourself, feel free to do that whenever time. Feel free to go. They have okay. Feel free to go to the restroom that's up the stairs. I was going to break us for lunch in 20 minutes. Everybody good with that? Okay. So, does that answer that question? So the easy way is start with every event you're doing, and then to start thinking about special reasons for focusing, right? So I could do a back to school offer, then I could do a Halloween offer, then I could do a holiday offer, then I could do a New Year's offer, then I could do a Mother's Day offer, a Father's Day offer, a summer special, and then I'm back to where we started, right?
So how do you balance this out? If you're doing like 5 or 6 events a month or whatever, you're doing like, you know, you're going out to the schools, you're holding internal events, you're doing external events, all that stuff. How do you balance out that promoting to where you're not sending like 5 pieces of mail to one person every
Well,
week?
think about what you just said, is you're not inviting your entire list to the program at Leewood Elementary School, right? You're inviting the entire list to what you're thinking of as the referral event at the school, right? So you're doing events at the school that are designed as referral events. Now, you may do events at the school that are designed only for the demo team, or only for the competition team, or only for black belts. You're not inviting them to them, right? Now, the flip side of that is there may be things that they should come watch. We do a big black belt testing at the school. Spectators would be fine for that. Even better, we do a big black belt extravaganza. Spectators would be great for that. We do intramural tournaments, used to do 4 a year, now we do 2 a year. Well, we could go, and this works great, by the way. Real physical tickets are cheap. So I can go print 10,000 real physical tickets. I could mail everybody in my prospect an invitation with 2 or 4 real tickets in it, right? For the black belt graduation show, or for be a spectator at the intramural tournament, or to be a spectator at the monthly graduation, right? So you're doing a belt graduation, you want spectators, you could do that, right? And so in practice, I would pick a couple things a month that you're going to promote for them to come down to an event. And then I would create a reason for there to be an offer that's going to go out in front of them. But roughly that cycle is, we know that back to school, adult or kids, I mean, not just kids, that's a big time. Adults, they're back from the beach, they're more focused, they're working on you know, some new activity. The kids, obviously, school went back in session. Parents are looking for what to do for the fall, right? So that's a period of time that I want to hit it hard. Mail the hardcore offer to them at least once a week, email to them twice a day, try to call everyone, but start with most recent, work my way back. I want to hit it hard. Does that make sense? Okay. Yes, sir.
How do you not wear your staff out doing that?
Well, most of it you outsource it, right?
What do you mean?
Well, I've got are you guys using Infusion? Okay. You might be able to do it with Perkmine, I don't know, okay. But you have an Excel spreadsheet. You're going to do a mailing, and it's I'm going to say you have a big list. You have 5,000 pieces. You send a couple different pieces to the mail house. Here's the list. I want you to, this is 5,000. I want you to print 15,000 of this postcard, 15,000 of this postcard, and you're going to alternate dropping them 6 times. 10 minutes, you're done.
Yeah.
Okay. Nobody had to touch it. Same list goes into Call Loop. And it's probably already there because you've been, you know, if you're using something like that, you're importing the list as you go.
And those events, that's where you're going to get the...
Yeah. So now I'm going to do a broadcast voicemail to all of them. I'm going to do a text message to all of them. I got another 5 minutes invested.
Yeah, right. Hours with the work. It's
Yeah,
all set up.
yeah. And in Call Loop, in an hour, I can set it up to be a sequence. So I can set it up 6 weeks worth and hit go. Truthfully, I tend not to be that organized, you know, so I'll do one, and then, next week I'll go do one, you know what I'm saying? But you can go set it up in one fell swoop. Again, nobody but whoever does it has to touch it, and it's quick. So far, none of the staff has done anything, other than one person spent an hour getting the mail together for the whole thing, an hour doing the voicemails and so forth, and then email. You know, if I say you email to them twice a day and you're going to do it for 6 weeks, that's 7, 14, 6, that's, I don't know, 70 some emails. But if you got in the mode of some personality email went out to the entire list every day, just discipline yourself to write a week and queue it, or just sit down and do it once a day. That doesn't take very much time, right? And then all of the other stuff, it could be, I create 8 of them. And so it goes 8, it starts over, it goes 8, it starts over, and I just rotate it, right? you know, with direct mail, you'll hear, Dan Kennedy's one of them, but, you know, he talks about doing sequential mail. And I concluded a long time ago, so one time I had a whole room devoted to, they get this first, they get this second, they get this third. And then I started looking at it, I said, well, it doesn't make any difference which sequence they get it in. So we did everything rotating, same way we do curriculum, right? So here's the March mailers, here's the April mailers, here's the June mailers, or here's the first one that goes out, here's the second one, here's the third one, and we just start over. So if they get second, then third, then first, doesn't matter, we just rotate. Does that make sense? So the only thing that's time intensive is the outbound phone call. And what we do know is that if I call 100 people nowadays, I'm gonna get between 5 and 10 of them to answer the phone, right? So to some extent, the automated voicemail is the first pass. So I do the automated voicemail, it's just as good as the live person anyway, because most of them aren't gonna answer the phone. But then I put a live person on. Even that you can automate. Well, not, you can't automate, but you can outsource, right? So the typical place to outsource phone calls nowadays is the Philippines, because Filipinos speak English better than Indians do, right? So you can go outsource it to the Philippines and give them a list of 1,000 people. It's not gonna be as good as your guys, but it's, you know, it's gonna get done, right? So they just come in and work the night shift to do the calls during the day here. And somebody blasts through the list and they're charging you, I don't know, nickel a call or something like that.
Yeah, what about like though, that, you know, if you're running an event a weekend, you know, like that, like whether it's, you know, trunk or treat, all those kinds of things on a regular basis.
Yeah, that starts to burn people out.
Yeah.
Right? So you've got to, here's, yeah.
What I found with students getting burnout, it's kind of like,
thank you, Bob.
it's kind of like the more motivated they are, the less burnout they get. So what we try to do is always do some kind of reward system. You know,
Thank you.
we put a lot of emphasis on stripes on your belt and, you know, getting recognition at the graduation with medals or trophies based on what they've done, based on the stripes, and a big 3-foot trophy for the one who gets the most stripes that month. But when we started doing that bigger reward system, we went from the most students getting 30 or 40 stripes to the most students now getting 180 stripes. So we have a whole group of people who are always looking for extra ways to earn stripes. And one of the things we give them stripes for is when they help out in demonstrations or our live events or at a graduation. So anytime we're having them come in, they'll help out at a birthday party. So we have a list of people who've already raised their hand and say, look, when you have a birthday party, can you put me on the list to make sure you contact me? Because they want to get those extra stripes. When you don't give them any recognition other than a high five, or you buy them a slice of pizza, it's not the same effect. So keep that in mind, and you'll find that you'll have a lot more volunteer rather than you even have to ask them. You'll have people, as soon as they see we have an event, they're in tune with what's going on, so they're gonna be like, can I help out at the event? I mean, they tend to come to us rather than us having to go drag them there, you know, and some schools are in that mode.
So rather than like having all of your staff there, you have the force that's there, and maybe 1 or 2 of your staff is there.
Exactly.
But
See,
when
you bring all your staff, you don't need all your staff. You need a couple to direct and train these people. Now, what I'll do, if it's an all-day event, I'll rotate staff, or one day 2 people do it, the next day the other 2, or so you rotate them around. But then you have, see, your staff doesn't get burnt out if they're not by themselves. You know what gets burnt out is when it's you and one other, and you're running around all day for 8 hours, and then you go like, man, do I have to do this again tomorrow? Follow me?
Yeah, but let me give you a different answer to that. And this is the answer based upon your guys' size and substance. So a small school that's scrambling, this doesn't apply, okay? What I was talking about last night, in my era of 6 locations, if I had a choice of get traffic by buying TV time and get traffic by having 12 booths out all over the city, I TV time any day of the week. Because ultimately, you're paying for it in people, meaning their hourly rate or their salary chunk and their burnout factor and stuff, or you're paying for it with media. right? So you guys have cash flow and you have sites. And there's a couple of ways to avoid burning through people and still accomplish all this stuff, right? One way is you gravitate more towards media and gravitate, Keith Hafner's conclusion was always this as well, is he gravitated towards direct mail and TV and wouldn't do school outreach and those type of things because, you know, he's grossing $110,000 a month. And if it's a choice between spend $10,000 a month and interrupt his nap time and his workout, he wanted to spend it, right? And I'm not joking, I mean that, right? So one way is to gravitate towards bigger and bigger ad budgets spent effectively and buy it through media. You guys should really be ramping up Facebook right now. You know, and especially in your niche. Jeff did 45 enrollments last month. Travis, you're not getting, where's Travis? Team Took is here somewhere.
That's
You're not
Jeff.
getting that kind of volume yet. What kind of volume have you been getting?
From
Facebook?
a ton of volume and very little.
You're having a hard time with conversions.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
the no-show rate is astronomically high with those and then conversions.
What percentage is your no-show?
For Facebook, around 70%.
70% no-show?
About 30% show.
Yeah.
Is the conversion okay once they show?
No.
No.
Yeah. And I just had this conversation with Jeff, and it was one of Alan and Kelly just had like 80% appointment rate, 80% show, 80% enrollment, right? Jeff is having flipped that opposite.
Patterson?
Yeah. He's having the same problems that you're having. And that was, he was asking me, what's everybody's numbers? And I said, well, I don't have any really good statistics. What I have is them as an outlier. And the reality and our internal problem is we get a lot of opt-ins. 9 out of 10 of them are ones we don't even want to have a conversation with. But the 1 out of 10 that we have a conversation with, Bob ends up chasing and chasing and chasing, can never get on the phone. We've just revamped everything that we're doing on the back end to try to get them on the phone. I'll show it to you, right? We've codenamed it Project Jennifer. We have the hot babe chasing them rather than Bob chasing them. It was either that or put him in a skirt. We figured it was about it.
The skirt was okay, but when we put the lipstick on it, it just kept.
Poor Bob.
Yeah.
Wait, tomorrow when we're covering enrollments, remind us about that again, because I have some suggestions for you.
I have a lot of suggestions, by the way, but as an example, right, is it is something that merits probably $6,000 a month going into Facebook for you guys, and probably 10, 15,000 in the TV. Now there is a different solution, and the different solution is you have a complete separate marketing team that's not directly school staff. Okay, and I've done that as well. I at one time had full-timers who only did elementary schools, right? So I had one guy who did nothing but, one was Chris Perry, the other was Larry Arado, who, Larry I actually hired because he had worked with the encyclopedia and the book companies that work directly with schools. So his job in his previous life was working with the publishers who went in and talked to the principals and set up book fairs and did all that stuff, right? And be very compatible. And his mission was to go set up the school programs, facilitate them. We would send an instructor in to do the actual thing, but he went and did the setup and did the facilitation. Because the hardest thing I had was getting the staff to go get it set up to begin with. Once it was set up, I could get them to operate it pretty well, but they had problems having the conversation with the principal and breaking that barrier. So that's the other way to do it is, Greg, you've just done that, right? You have a marketing person who, that's all she does.
In fact, I added an employee underneath her. She started out as a program director, but I pulled her out of the school and put her in under her. And so she goes in from like 8 in the morning till 1, and she does all the info calls and stuff like that. I route all the phones to her. So she's picking up the phones, she's greeting walk-ins, all that kind of stuff. But then on the weekends, she's just doing events with the director of marketing. So it's working out really well because she's going in and hitting the phones, she's going through all the leads, she's doing all that kind of stuff. So we give her a lot of specific direction with that. That's been a new addition that's really
Yeah.
helping us out.
Oh, and by the way, this is the reason why we have to get you guys showing up on the leadership and the mastery calls. Because when we do that meeting once a month each, we're talking about the big school and multi-school unique issues, right? Because if I'm Adam and I'm trying to get from where he's at back to where you used to be, he doesn't have the budget to be doing this type of stuff nor the people. But you guys, Greg, I mean, I can go through the list here, but you have completely different needs.
Yeah.
Right? And twice a month, we're doing the mastery, which is the $500,000 to $2 million single schools, and the leadership, which is the we're doing the multi-schools, right? And usually Greg makes it, a lot of times Paul Pendergast is there, Steve White, so it's people who have similar issues, right? Yes, sir.
I'm interested in your TV numbers, as far as, it seems like you cast a pretty good net with your TV marketing, and what is the return look like? Are you getting a lot of flaky
Yes.
interest?
Yeah, short form TV is going to be same issue as Facebook. You get a lot of volume and a lot of it is flaky. Okay, but the fact that you get a lot of volume, and Facebook and TV has another benefit though, is it's a really good branding medium, and you never want to do something purely for branding. But I got to tell you, when we were doing short form as well as infomercials, I couldn't go anywhere in Denver, and usually it didn't have me personally in them. The infomercials did, the short form didn't, right? But I couldn't go anywhere. I'd go get my hair cut. They'd say, "Oh, I saw your TV show," right? Or I'd say Mile High Karate. I was looking at retail space one time, and I remember this story for some reason. I was walking through, and I would always go ask the other tenants, "Well, how's it doing here? Is this a good place to be? Is it a bad place? Is business good? Are you waiting to move out, or do you want to expand? What's going on?" And I remember a couple of them said to me, "What are you looking at doing?" I was like, "Well, martial arts school." And they all said, "Well, I know Mile High Karate does really well. I bet you could do really well too. What's the name of your school?" I said, "Well, it's Mile High Karate." Right? But it would be that level of branding. So,
What is
and
short
again,
form?
Facebook is the same. Oh, well, short form is 30 seconds, long form is infomercial, right? Infomercials are getting harder and harder because of the way people view TV. Anymore with Netflix and with streaming. And if you look at the way I watch TV, I may be an anomaly. I always have the news on with the sound off in my office, just because I can't work with nothing going on. I'm good. I could be in a bar with a live band playing, and that's when I did my MBA. That's the way I would study. I'd go up to that Vail and sit in this place, and they have a live band and stuff, and I would study, statistics, right? But it's just silence kills me. I still have the nightmares of Alexandria. I should have sued. I'll tell you the backstory of this a bit.
That was my school when he was working there.
I would sit there for 6 hours, hoping the phone would ring. Dead silence. One day class.
You're supposed to be studying.
One day class. It was too quiet for me to study. It was impossible. One day student would come in, Miles Wolfman. I don't make this up. He was in charge of the Defense Intelligence Agency war room at the Pentagon. He had like 2 PhDs, 3 master's degrees, but I still have nightmares. If I'm in a martial arts school and nothing's happening, I start getting high, and I get nervous, and people see I just I can't be here, It's,
Now you know why all his schools, he wouldn't let them set up the school, they had to go out and market.
They had to go out and market, yeah. But long form is an 8-page letter, a 16-page letter. Short form is a postcard, right? So a 30-second spot is harder to get results from than if they watch an infomercial. But the difference is a 30-second spot is on Oprah. I mean, we used to buy Oprah, the 5 o'clock news, the 10 o'clock news, sometimes the kids shows, the Power Rangers and stuff like that. And what was, Oprah was really good. But the afternoon where mom was watching, and news. And so like the best compromise is on TV you can buy it, you can do a 2-second ad, I mean a 2-minute. And what a 2-minute is 4 30-second spots, so you're the only ad in the slot. So if you watch all the cable news channels at night, you'll see a lot of direct response ads now that are the entire news period. So it's not you have the Viagra commercial and then it's your ad and then it's the McDonald's commercial. It's they go to a commercial break and you're it, and then they go back, right? So that's a really good way to do it.
Master Oliver, sometimes when I mention like infomercials or we talked about those, people tell me later, well, I hate those infomercials, or you know, even when we say certain advertising or text messaging, oh, I hate it when I get text messages, you're right. What you should be focusing on is results, and those things work a lot better.
Yeah.
You know, so whenever you find yourself saying, or even what's worse is even talking to somebody selling you marketing, oh, well, I would never do that.
Yeah.
So you can't really use that as an example.
Yeah, and here's a principle to write down before we break for lunch. Write this down, it's really important. You are not your customer. Okay? And you can expand that out a little bit, right? I mean, I don't know if there's any exceptions in the room, I doubt it. We all love martial arts. You start talking about the grappling and you do this, or you do this kick and this tournament and this thing. Probably everybody in here loves that, right? Your prospective customer does not have that affinity, right? Is they have a problem they're trying to solve. So you have to be constantly getting into their body and into their mind and trying to figure out how they're looking at what we do. Does that make sense?
Sure.
We were doing our little motorcycle trip, and we were in Carmel, and then we were in Sausalito. And it was really funny in Sausalito. We're all hanging out at the Starbucks, and people are, somebody said, you know, you guys are like the wimpiest motorcycle gang or something like that. But people were making this comment, but it's kind of like they had this image of somebody on a motorcycle is a Hell's Angel, right? And they're having these conversations with us like, Jody's sister and brother-in-law just went up. They were in the Black Hills when Sturgis was happening. And she said, well, those are all really nice people, like she was surprised. Well, Sturgis, which is still going on this weekend, it's orthodontists who on the weekend put leathers on and jump on their $40,000 Harley that they had trailered to the Black Hills. And they hang out and go to the bars and then go right around Mount Rushmore. That's what Sturgis is. You know, Daytona Bike Week is the same thing. Harley has a marketing problem. You know what Harley's marketing problem is? Their average customer is 60 years old and makes $150,000 a year. The reason that they bought Ducati is they are horrible with under 40. The reason that they are sponsoring UFC is their audience is having hip replacements and dying off. And I mean, seriously, that's their problem, right? By the way, it was Cadillac's problem. Cadillac completely rebranded. Cadillac went from 65-year-old fat guys with a cigar to 37-year-old professional adult women. They managed to completely rebrand it.
And they moved the headquarters to New York City from Detroit.
Yeah, exactly.
New York City, they have a showroom in New York City.
Well, they hired that hotshot woman ad director. I think they fired her, but what was she, like 32 or 35?
That's GM anyway, so.
What's that?
That's GM anyway, so
Yeah.
GM has, you know.
Yeah. So, but it is interesting. But here's a couple of principles to take away for lunch. One principle is just realize you're not your audience, right? So don't make decisions based upon what you are. The quote, and it's a copywriter long dead, was get inside the conversation that's already going on in their mind, right? You want to just enter the conversation that they're already having with themselves, right? Okay, but, so, we talked about principle number 1 is what? Murphy's Law is right. Number 2 is Parthenon, always have 20 things going on. Number 3, what the hell was that? Dig deep, right? So take one perfect audience and dig really deep, don't try to rake across the surface. Does that make sense? The next is, once you get that prospect, drip on them and drip on them and drip on them and dripping on them. What you're wanting to do is separate suspects from prospects. Does that make sense? Okay? And the last thing on the Parthenon thing is, so think about this, you have the Parthenon, you always have to have 20 things going on, right? Well, have 20 different categories of, not 20 different categories, have different categories of things going on. You're always doing things that are going to be publicity and PR. Trying to get in a local newspaper, trying to get on TV, trying to get on radio. Those tend to be strikeout, 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 home run. Strikeout, 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 double, right? The home run, one of them was your picture of it, Don. Remember we did a hit in the Denver Post, full back cover of the style section on Sunday. 850,000 people. It was a picture of him teaching class. What did we get, like 200 info calls on Monday? If we had paid for it, it would have been a $20,000 ad, right? Well, it's not like we got a lot of publicity, but when it hit big, okay? So.
I took the phone call from the newspaper and what to say to them.
Yeah, yeah.
You could have gone in and got talked away, so I mean, that's the idea of striking out all the time. You never know when you're gonna get that call, and just have to deal with it.
Well, and the funny story is the Tom Martino story. Remember that one? So, we have the local consumer troubleshooter guy, right? And so one of our parents who was mad about having to do all the character development stuff had called the guy. And so I'm driving in on the way to our staff meeting, and I get a call from my office that somebody's bitching about Mile High Karate on the Tom Martino radio show live. I said, can you give me the number real quick? So I call in, and I get the call screener, and she says, oh, okay, so you're Mile High Karate, what's your answer to them? I said, well, just plug me into the show. They never get that. Business owners who are being raked over the coal are always trying to run and hide. If anything, they're giving them the boilerplate. I said, no, just plug me into the show. She goes, you want to go live? I said, yeah. I mean, there's a conversation going on that's, raking our name through the coals. You owe it to let me have the conversation with them, right? So it ended up being a 30-minute commercial for Mile High Karate. The guy was agreeing with me the whole time. He goes, well, ma'am, what is it you're concerned about? Well, my 12-year-old has to do this, and I took him there just to do kicking and punching, and they're having to do goal setting. They're having to do, and he's going, oh, really? Really? They're having to do that? Well, that's pretty impressive. And I said, well, yeah, we have a complete program that's developed and structured to accomplish this. And I apologize if Mrs. Jones thought this was just going to be a fighting thing. This isn't just a fighting thing. This is all about better grades and da-da-da. And he's going, wow, this is pretty impressive. I'm so happy that, And somewhere along the line, he said, well, I get more complaints about you guys than anybody else. And I said, well, you do realize that about 50% of the people who do martial arts in the Denver metropolitan area, especially the ones that are under 15, are at Mile High Karate, because we have locations here, and each of our locations is probably about the combination of 10 of them. He said, oh, I didn't realize that. And so then the troubleshooter guy, I sent him the whole packet, right? So I sent him all the stuff, I sent him the whole deal. He never enrolled, but his primary assistant ended up enrolling, and her kid ended up being one of our black belts, right? But I mean, who would have the balls to call in, and it ended up being a 30-minute commercial for us. But anyway, so you have the PR stuff. You've got to make sure that the events that are going on, community outreach in other ways. You've got to make sure you have referral events going on all the time. You've got to make sure that you're doing a good job with Google, with Facebook, maybe with Groupon, right? But you want to go through these different categories and make sure there's something going on in every category every month. Does that make sense? Okay? And the only exception to that is as you grow, it might be a broader media mix if you want to spend the dollars rather than spend the labor, right? Or, you know, and even big companies. There's lots of big companies who have marketing teams. You know, they send a marketing team to Denver and they're on the sidewalks and they're doing all this stuff. I mean, you can get to that point, you just have to not burn out your primary staff constantly doing that. Does that make sense? And I know it's a tough call, right? So, you know, if we had the Boy Scout Jamboree, all of our full-time people are gonna be there. I don't give a shit. It's your anniversary, you know, we'll buy your wife a bottle of champagne and she can come out and make appointments, you know, I mean, whatever. But the other stuff, you figure out how to balance it. Okay, shall we take 90 minutes for lunch?